So, does that mean these are false? No, these aren't. Hi.
No, your mic isn't this. I do.
Can we demand it?
Well, we can. Well,
And do they even have the right to say yes or no?
I think they do.
Well, I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking.
But
Let's get it done. I call this meeting to order. Welcome to our council meeting for March 11, 2025. In the interest of time, efficiency, and ensuring that everyone who wishes to address the council is given the opportunity to do so, the following will apply to all comments made by the public. Each speaker will be permitted 3 minutes to address the council. Thank you for participating in your city government. Tonight's invocation, this afternoon's invocation, will be given by Chaplain Jane Pagan of the Clermont Police Department. Please rise and remain standing for the pledge.
Thank you. Father God, we thank you for this time that we get to worship you today at the 9th hour, 3 p.m. Let us take a moment to pause and reflect on the spirit of unity that brings us together in the city of Clermont. We are privileged to engage in dialogue and decision-making that shapes our community for the better. Today, we also honor two remarkable individuals, Donnie Cochran and Daniel Keel, whose unwavering commitment to our nation and profound contributions to society exemplify the finest qualities of an American citizenship. Additionally, we extend our heartfelt congratulations to Chief Broadway as he embarks on a new chapter of his professional career. Chief Broadway's leadership and dedication have made a lasting impact on our city. He will forever be in our prayers. Father God, let us approach the throne with gratitude for the blessings we share, the leaders who serve us, and the continued growth of our beloved Clermont. May we be inspired by their example as we work together for a brighter future. In your holy name we pray, and everyone says, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Amen. Please be seated. I would just like to remind my council up here that with the new system, if you don't turn your microphone on, you cannot be heard at home at all, okay? So make sure you have your microphone on when you get ready to speak, because of those at home watching it on the link will not be able to hear you at all, okay? Next, we have two proclamations this afternoon, and before we get into the proclamation, and the first one, I think a couple of council meetings ago, Ms. Myers mentioned about black history and everything, and I made a statement about we had some history here in Clermont, some black history that live here in Clermont. So that's basically what the proclamation is all about today. So the first one is the proclamation for the commemorating Tuskegee Airmen Day. Yes, ma'am.
Whereas the courage, dedication, self-sacrifice, and compassion of the ordinary heroes of the World War II generation continue to inspire our nation, especially the men and women who are currently serving and protecting our country. And whereas the armed forces of the United States were segregated in World War II. And whereas in 1940, the U.S. military selected Tuskegee Institute to train pilots because of its commitment to aeronautical training, its facilities, engineering, and technical instructors, and a climate for year-round flying. After which, Tuskegee program was expanded to become the Center for African American Aviation during World War II. And whereas the Tuskegee Airmen were active from 1941 to 1946 and overcame segregation and prejudice to become one of the most respected fighter groups of the World War II, paving the way for full integration of the U.S. military. And whereas Florida recognizes the extraordinary contributions and sacrifices made by the Tuskegee Airmen and designates the fourth Thursday in March as a legal holiday to be known as Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day, to honor their legacy and the continued fight for equality and justice. And whereas Clermont resident Tuskegee Airman Lieutenant Daniel Keel, who is approaching his 103rd birthday, served as a flight officer in the Air Force from 1943 to 1946. Lieutenant Keel was one of only 5 Tuskegee Airmen to receive a triple airman rating.
Now, therefore, I, Tim Murray, Mayor of the City of Clermont in the state of Florida, do hereby proclaim the 27th day of March, 2025 as Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seals of the City of Clermont to be affixed this 11th day of March in the year 2025. If I can have Mr. Keel join us up front, and my council members as well.
Mayor Murray and members of Clermont City Council, thank you very much for honoring me with this proclamation. I deeply appreciate the kind words. They mean a lot to me. More than 25 years ago, my wife and I were deciding where to retire in Florida. Fortunately, we picked Clermont. We decided that what a fine choice that we made back in '98, and I'm proud to call myself a member of Clermont. I should say I'm proud to call Clermont my home. Clermont is a great place to live. It's a wonderful community, and the people are so friendly. And I am fortunate to have some of my children living here in the area. I'm now 102 years old. And yes, I will continue to look forward to being a Clermont resident for many years to come. Thank you.
And Mr. Keel, I'll be ever so grateful for you for opening those doors to help me and the next gentleman we're going to be honoring here. You open the doors that help us along the way in the Air Force as well, and all in the Navy as well. But the next proclamation we have is to honor Captain Donnie Cochran. Captain Cochran, you're a little bit younger than Mr. Keel, so I'm going to have you come up front while we read this, okay? If you come and stand right here and face the people, I would appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Whereas Captain Donnie Cochran, United States Navy, retired, has demonstrated exceptional dedication to his country, inspiring countless individuals through his leadership, service, and achievements. And whereas a 1976 graduate of Savannah State University, Captain Cochran became began his distinguished Navy career as a fighter pilot, serving on multiple aircraft carriers and leading Fighter Squadron 111 to recognition as the top F-14 squadron in the Pacific Fleet. And whereas Captain Cochran made history as the first African-American pilot selected for the Blue Angels in 1985, later becoming the first African-American commanding officer and flight leader in 1994, flying over 2,200 hours in more than 300 air shows for millions of spectators. And whereas, with over 6,000 flight hours, Captain Cochran served as a command pilot in 9 types of aircraft, completing 888 accident-free carrier landings, and later contributing to aviation as a flight training supervisor for UPS and a manager at Coca-Cola. And whereas, Captain Cochran's numerous honors include 2 Legion of Merit medals, the Navy Commendation Medal, and induction into the Georgia Military Veteran Hall of Fame and Georgia Aviation Hall of Fame, among other prestigious recognitions. And whereas Captain Cochran's legacy continues to inspire excellence and leadership in both military and civilian life.
Now, therefore, I, Tim Murray, Mayor of the City of Clermont in the state of Florida, do here proclaim the 11th day of March, 2025 as Captain Donnie Cochran's Day. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hands and caused the great seal of the City of Clermont to be affixed this 11th day of March in the year 2025. Thank you. If the council will join me down front for pitch photos. I think you may have some family here as well. No, ma'am, don't go sit down. Join us up here, Marvin.
Thank you so much for this prestigious honor. One of the things that we did on the Blue Angels is after every flight, we would have a debrief. And in the debrief, you would share what went wrong and the opportunities for improving the air show. And at the end of your comments, you would say, "Glad to be here." And glad to be here was an expression of gratitude for the effort it took to get you to the team and the commitment required to keep you there. So I would like to say I am very, very glad to be here. Now,
Thank you.
what is so special about the phrase glad to be here is you can assess any area of your life if you have self-awareness and the courage to take action. You can ask yourself, am I glad to be where I am in my career? Am I glad to be where I am in my health? How about my finances? The bottom line is if you have courage and self-awareness, you can make your situation better. So thank you so much for this commemoration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any council member have any comments?
I want to thank both the gentlemen for coming out tonight and all you've done for this country and for the people in it. Thank you for being a part of our community.
I would like to thank you for your service. I only could imagine some of the things that you endured so that the rest of our people could serve in this manner. And I thank you for enduring. I thank you for your lifelong service that you've given. I thank you for your wives and your children standing beside you. I know it wasn't easy, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
I just want to thank both of you for your service that you've done for the country. I know flying is a difficult thing, and it takes a lot of courage to do what you do, on top of the other handicaps that you had going through it. And I commend all of you for whatever you've done and whatever you've done in the future, too.
And again, Captain Cochran, I think you summed it up great. It takes a lot of courage to get up in them cockpits and do everything you all did. And Lieutenant Keel, again, thank you for opening those doors and helping make it possible for me to spend 23 years, almost 23 years in the Air Force as well. And also, that's why it's very special to me seeing, to honor you here this afternoon. And thank you both for making Clermont your home, a choice of champions, okay? You know, so. And Mr. Keel, one more thing. I'm looking forward to joining you, if you will, again for your 103rd birthday in September. I'm waiting on that party, okay? In September, so thank you. Next item is public comment. Anyone who wishes to address the council, please come to the microphone and state your name and address. This portion of the meeting is only for items that are not on the agenda. In the interest of time, efficiency, and ensuring everyone who wishes to address the council is given the opportunity to do so, each speaker will be permitted 3 minutes to address the council. To avoid disruption of the meeting, speakers should avoid inappropriate language, personal attack, derogatory statements, and direct comments to the city council. Everyone is requested to be respectful of each other, even when we disagree. Yes, sir.
I'm running a little bit late. My thoughts was to come here and complain about having a meeting on 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sir, can I get your name and address, please? Name and address. He's a little hard here. Name and address.
He wants you to give your name and your address.
My name is Rudy Bowen.
Address.
I was born right here in Clermont in 1933, down where 12th Street meets the lake. Graduated from high school in 51. And my thoughts was to complain about having a meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a busy day, when at 7 o'clock at night, everybody can come. It's full.
Yeah.
And my complaint is going out the door.
Okay. Okay.
So, Clermont's my hometown, has been for 91 years, and I thought I was old until that gentleman got here a few minutes ago, 12 years older than me. Life's a bitch, and then you die.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Kramer, 208 Nautica Mile. Normally I come here to ask for help with something because I'm the president of the Yacht Club Homeowners Association. But today I wanted to say thank you to our Public Service Department for all the work that they've done recently after the hurricanes. First, it's little things, it's attention to detail that really makes a difference in the community. I want to thank them for painting our fire hydrants. They're bright yellow and blue again. They look fabulous. There's fresh paint all over the grass, but it shows that they're new. And it's just little things like that that keep your city looking good. I saw the department out today replacing street lights along the lake. You know, we have a lot of people walking out there at night. It's a big deal to have our lights working. And lastly, we took a really hard hit at the yacht club. There were about 20 people with boats there and so on. Almost every one of them were wiped out in the hurricane, tossed upside down, trash destroyed. What a mess. We have spent days, weeks, months of our own trying to clean it up as the yacht club. And I really want to thank the city so much. We had about, about 15 people, sorry, I looked at Brian, about 15 people out there, 20 people helping us Saturday, cleaned everything up, placed it in all nice, neat piles, and the city showed up as soon as we were done and spent about 2 hours picking up all that garbage that we had pulled out of the waterfront. So I want to say thank you to the Public Service Department. They're doing an outstanding job around here. So rather than complaining, I wanted to do something nice. However, I do have one teeny request.
Okay, all right, here we go.
Everything was picked up except a sailboat washed up onto our beach, and we've taken it out by the road. It has a hole in it. Somebody picked it up and actually put it on their trailer, all strapped in until they saw the hole, and then they took it off and left it sit there. So this about 15-foot long sailboat's still sitting there. So I don't know what to do with it. It doesn't belong to anybody in the yacht club. It's just unclaimed. So if somebody wants a sailboat, go pick it up. But it's along the lake there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Farmer Banks Helfrich, Clay Road District, South Lake County. Farm tip of the day, you can put cucumbers in the ground now, and you can actually have them grow right up trellises. This is to keep them away from caterpillars and bugs. Mayor, council, distinguished guests, 240 years ago, our forefathers, representing 13 colonies, 55 delegates from authoritarian homelands, got together in Philadelphia for 4 months and created the longest serving government charter, the preamble to the Constitution and the Constitution. This was no easy feat. They argued, they bickered, they disagreed, they got it done. In the end, they created a government, 3 branches, which balance and check each other. They also created a government for, with, and of the people, balancing between freedoms and government control. Nowadays, back then they used a word that you don't use nowadays. When they do use it, it's usually a sign of weakness or a sign of vulnerability, of insecurity. That word is compromise. Yeah. They came together. In fact, compromise was the glue for which the country was formed on. It would be great if nowadays we used it more often. We came together, we worked across divisions to find ways to make a more perfect union. My name is Farmer Banks Helfrich. Thank you for allowing me to speak. May you all be blessed.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Diane Maglione, 3954 Eversholt Street. Excuse me. Before I begin, I'd like to thank those 2 gentlemen who served our country. Thank you very much for your service. I would like to thank all of you. The evening that the new members were installed, I was one that came up and requested that you consider having afternoon meetings for us senior citizens. So I just want to say thank you for considering it, for making it happen, and I'm really happy to be here. So thank you again.
Thank you. This is public comment. Anyone in the public wish to make a comment that is pertaining to anything that's not on the agenda, may come to the microphone, state your name and address, and have 3 minutes. Anyone else? Please.
Good evening, executors. I'm Constance Tracy, 625 Diston Avenue, Clermont, Florida, 34711. I just want to say thanks to the lady that just spoke about having the meeting a little earlier, because I, for one, 6 o'clock, I'm parked. So this evening, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? This is public comment. Seeing no one else, I close public comment, and we'll move on. Before we move on any further, Mr. Van Wagner, do we have any change to the agenda?
We have one change, item 14, which is a variance request. There's a request to table that until April 22nd, and actions required by the council for that.
Table action, number 14? Yes. Okay. Need a motion?
Motion to table item number 14.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for, to table item number 14, which is a variance request, April 22nd, 2025. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And chair vote aye as well. Motion passes 8-0. Mr. Van Wagner, before we will go on the report. As you all notice, we're missing a council member. Did we, Kirk, did we check to see if anybody wanted to come off the agenda since it's not all five and everybody's good with the agenda? Okay, good. I asked that question because basically with a council member meeting, if a person on the agenda do not want to be the case heard, with 4 members, they are less they can ask to come off the agenda. So with Mr. Mr. Howard missing, I asked that question. So Mr. Van Wagner, report, please, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We typically have 2 meetings a month, but we're not going to be having a second council meeting this month because we'll be in Tallahassee.
Yes.
But March 25th, the council meeting has been canceled, so everybody knows. Also, there was a request last council meeting to have a workshop with the Lake County representatives, a lady named Kelly Randall. She's the executive director of facilities and planning. Lake County has agreed to do that for April 15th. She can come with her staff, and they're able to come at 3 p.m. if we're able to accommodate that for them for a workshop. So I just need a consensus from you all if that's okay to move ahead or do that for that day or not.
Remind me, what's the workshop?
We were talking about congruency.
Okay, okay.
It came up 2 times in a row, so you all
Okay.
had said you wanted to have a discussion with them.
That's fine with me.
Works for me.
It's good.
Okay with me.
Okay, and then, thank you. And then secondly, I've been asked by the staff and myself, we're trying to let the public know what we're doing for workshops, and it's been a little tricky at this point because we don't have a time to advertise when we're doing these. So we'd like to make a request that there be a consideration to do these at 3 p.m., our workshops, and if you need to change it, that we would do that. But just so the community knows, we need to have a set time, and right now we're putting to be determined on everything for workshops because we don't have a time. So again, I'd like to consider getting a consensus from you, Mr. Mayor. and
I'm in
council.
agreement to that.
That's fine with me as well.
Works for me.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. There is an event on March 15th, Pups in the Park at Lake Hiawatha Preserve. That's starting at 8:30 a.m. Also on March 28th through March 30th, of course, is our Pig on the Pond at Waterfront Park. And lastly, I wanted to mention, we currently have our spring games going on at Hancock Park. Softball teams from all over the country are there. Those games start at 9 a.m. and they play throughout the day and into the evening. And if you haven't had a chance to be there, there's a lot of competitive games going on right now. And I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight, and for the 2 gentlemen that served our country. Thank you again for your service, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Waugh.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to address a question that you had at the last meeting, which was to look at the fire impact fees, the effect that is from switching the purpose of the facility across the street. And I think, as you suspected, Mayor, you're correct that the fire impact fees are going to have to, within a reasonable time period, in other words, it's not 15 days, it's not 10 days, whatever, but it does have to be replenished. It does have to be returned somehow. So, for example, you know, that could be accomplished a lot of ways. Either funds could be taken from the general fund to compensate. The property could be sold and then the money's returned. But one way or the other, probably before the end of the year, something reasonable. In other words, this situation happens in other places. We're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
But that will have to occur. Now, one thing I also found in looking at this is that 4 years ago, apparently the city council made a similar decision, leaving about $150,000 on the table with something, I don't know all the details yet, but I've just learned about it. So I don't know if I have to dig into that or not yet, Mayor, but that's just something that came up as well. That's the first part. We've had some developments in litigation for the city, one of which I've already apprised you about and the rest of the city council about. We had an appeal from a land use decision that the city council made in November. That appeal was made by a petition for writ of certiorari to circuit court judge. The judge has denied the appeal, and so the city zoning decision has prevailed. Additionally, there was a foreclosure case that we were served on in October. We failed to respond within 20 days to preserve the lien, and so that was in late October. But we have asked the judge to vacate the default, and the other side has actually agreed, so we're going to be able to preserve the lien. Finally, we are still in litigation in the Wright Ahern case. That's what I call it. And we recently received an award for attorney's fees, about $700 for some frivolous actions that the plaintiff's attorney was doing. Finally, we had the planning and zoning training at the last planning and zoning board meeting as requested. I thought it went well. And one thing that I wanted to mention to y'all, just in case there was any confusion, is there was a little bit of a misperception among some that members of the city council cannot speak to members of the planning and zoning board. And that is not true. Of course, members of different boards do not violate the Sunshine Law by talking about business that comes in front of one or the other. So just in case there was any misperception, that is okay. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Just go back to the building across the street. And I guess that's why I was concerned with it, because that was brought to my attention. The other case was brought to my attention that somehow it slipped through the cracks on us. Am I correct in assuming that, well, I've been told that that money has to actually be replaced before they can get a CO for the building? It doesn't have to be done right away, but before the CO is granted, the money need to be reallocated.
No, I don't think that's accurate.
Okay.
But I think it would be a good idea.
Okay. All right. So we need to look at that. Maybe be making plans, because I'm expecting the CO here very shortly. Maybe take a look at where we're going to do it, how we're going to replace.
I just think the sooner the better,
Yeah.
generally, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you looking into that and bringing it back to
Thank you,
answer
sir.
for me. Thank you. Councilmember Strange.
Thank you. So I was appointed by this board in December to serve on the Tourist Development Council. The Board of County Commissioners has elected not to take a vote on that issue. And my understanding is the conversation was led by Commissioner Smith. And I feel like it's something that you all need to be made aware of as he came to our workshop. Commissioner Smith was sitting next to Commissioner Shields, former Commissioner Shields, at the workshop. And former Commissioner Shields is best friends with the current president of Lake County Rowing. They rowed together in college. And I have had an experience in the past with both gentlemen where I was requested not to be involved in the leadership of Lake County Rowing. My daughter at the time was brought into a board meeting for discussion that I felt was inappropriate. And so my daughter and I both left that organization without making any statements or actions. I did not think it was appropriate at the time. This weekend, my daughter has a mentor who is a founder of Lake County Rowing. The woman's name is Debbie Brazil. Okay. She did a lot of work to make Lake County Rowing come to fruition and to help bring it to Clermont. She's a national champion in multiple different age categories. She's 55 years old. And my daughter actually stores her boat at her boathouse in Eustis. While I was involved in leadership of Lake County Rowing, I asked her to come to the club and stay part of the club, given that she was a founder, and she has been a member of the club until this last Saturday, when the president of Lake County Rowing saw her helping my daughter launch a boat, and immediately and on the spot removed her from the roster of Lake County Rowing so that my daughter could not row with her rowing partner at the regatta this weekend. Okay. We have been asked as a council to enter into a specific contract with an organization who has held themselves out as advocating for children. And I take issue with this, what I perceive as a personal attack on my child because of my role on this council. I find it to be repulsive. and I will not support any contract so long as the leadership is in place at that organization. I remain steadfast that I think that contracts with rowing or any organization that is club-based should go through our staff and not be something that we consider. But I do want you to know that while I have remained silent on my personal feelings of the leadership of that organization, after what happened this weekend, I can no longer remain silent. And I do believe that the individuals involved have been speaking with the county commissioners, and that has impacted the city's representation at the Tourist Development Council. And I am requesting that this council support me in insisting that the Board of County Commissioners take a vote on my seat on the Tourist Development Council. I want you to know that I'm a member of the Sports ETA. It's a national association for sports professionals. No one else on that council sits on that board. I attend the Florida Sports Foundation summits. I attend the Sports ETA summits. And I have the same conflicts as everyone else who is on that council. So I do think that the personal relationships there are impacting the representation of the city. And we're the largest city in the county. We have a statutory seat on that board, and I do believe that I can serve the city well. And I point out that I never sought to be on that board despite my professional affiliations when it was about me. So the only reason I even advocate for this at this time is because you have nominated me, and I do think I would do a good job, and I think the citizens of Clermont deserve that. So that's what happened this weekend.
Okay. Thank you. That's it?
That's all I have for now, sir.
Thank you. So they just didn't take a vote on it?
They did not take a vote. It is my understanding that they had a consensus. It is my understanding that Mr. Smith, who is the one who spoke to us at the workshop and made a point of saying, well, I wasn't on the TDC yet.
Right.
It is my understanding he led the conversation. It is my understanding that Commissioner Parks supported not appointing me, and it is my understanding that Commissioner Campione supported not appointing me. But there was no vote actually taken.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Myers.
Well, I wasn't expecting to hear all that. That's terrible, and I'm sorry that your daughter did not get to participate. I think as adults we need to put our feelings to the side and allow our children to participate in an event that she was already scheduled to participate in. I hope she got to go someplace else, because that's disappointing as a teeny bopper, and then to see adults behave that way, you know what I'm saying? That shouldn't have happened.
The great news is she did get to participate, because her partner went to another club next door and signed up with them.
Okay.
The bad news for Lake County is that now when she goes to nationals and wins, she will not be wearing Lake County on her chest. She will be wearing the Citrus County logo on her chest.
Oh.
So Lake County lost those points this year.
I'm sorry that happened to her, and I agree with you. They should have a vote then. And we need to put personal feelings to the side. Can you do the job? That's the thing. And you can do the job, clearly.
Thank you. Thank you for your support and for your
certainly
empathy.
My report is that I attended the MPO last week in Leesburg. I also attended the FBC Leo conference in Kissimmee, and I attended my mentor, he was my mentor and my friend, Senator Geraldine Thompson's funeral. She passed the day before Valentine's Day. And she was great woman, great asset to Central Florida, and she will be greatly missed. And for those of you who believe in God, I ask that you would keep her family in prayer, because she died unexpectedly. And as you all know, loss is a hard thing to process, especially when you weren't expecting someone to pass. And I also want to say thank you again to our service members here who did a fabulous job serving our community and making ways so that many of us, including my father and my husband, to be able to serve in the military. My grandfather served in World War II. I've heard the stories of the difficult challenges that blacks had to face during that time, and I thank you for just staying the course, even though it wasn't an easy course, and I thank you for that. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilmember Peterson.
Good afternoon, everyone. I sit before you today with a clear vision to ensure the residents of Clermont receive the emergency medical services they deserve. Right now, when someone calls the city 911 in a life and death situation, they rely on ambulances from Lake County. While we appreciate the services they provide, the hard truth is in response times, they are not always enough. And in an emergency, every second counts. Clermont is growing, our population is increasing, our economy is thriving, and our city is becoming a place where families and businesses want to put down roots. While with growth comes responsibility to protect our citizens, to ensure their safety, and to provide essential services that match the needs of our community. That includes having ambulances stationed right here in Clermont, ready to respond at a moment's notice. Right now, if an ambulance is responding from outside the city, we face unnecessary delays. Imagine a parent holding a child struggling to breathe, or a senior citizen experiencing a heart attack. Every minute waiting could cause the difference between life and death. This is unacceptable. So what's the solution? We need to bring ambulance service to Clermont under our own fire department. By integrating EMS to our local fire services, we can cut response times, provide faster emergency care, and ensure that when you or a loved one call for help, it arrives without delay. I am committed to bringing and putting this issue on the agenda. I will push for a plan to establish a dedicated ambulance service for Clermont, working alongside our firefighters to provide the care our residents need. And I will work with city leaders, emergency responders, and the community to make this a reality. Because this is not about politics. This is about saving lives. This is our city. These are our families, our friends, and our neighbors. And they deserve better. They deserve an ambulance service that prioritizes them right here and right now. Let's take action together. Let's make this happen to Clermont. Thank you. And I'd like to ask Chief Fazell to come out and comment and give you his information on our response times.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. David Ezell, Fire Chief for the City of Clermont. Today, what I wanted to do at the request of Councilman Peterson was just share the year-to-date information that we have on the ambulance response times. One piece I do want to make very clear is that with the EMS chain, as far as when service starts, the life-saving measures actually start when our firefighters are able to get on scene.
Thank you.
You recall from a few meetings ago, we're at the 90th percentile from the time a call is picked up in the dispatch center to arrival. We're at about 9.5 minutes. So we're there in less than 10 minutes, many times much quicker than that, but that's where we're at. But another piece in that is the ambulances, which is required to get the patient from wherever the location of the call is to the hospital. So what we have with the chart that I put together is we're only looking at the notification of the ambulance to the time that they arrive on scene. So that's only 2 pieces out of the 3 that we look at when we're analyzing our responses. So it's going to be the reaction time of the crew on the ambulance and then the travel time of how long it takes them to get to the scene. So what we see here, what we would like to see with the ambulances is that they're on scene within 10 minutes. And what we're seeing year to date from the 894 calls that we've had for an ambulance respond into Clermont, that's happened 47% of the time. Additionally, looking at this, the other piece that's a little alarming is that we've had 190 calls where it's been 15 minutes or greater to get an ambulance to the scene. So that's about 21.22% of the time that we have ambulance responses. So, I mean, that's kind of illustrating the challenges that we're having, and we've had conversations with the county. I think we're all in agreement that we do not have the number of ambulances in service to be able to properly serve the community within Lake County. And it's actually a bigger problem than just getting ambulances inside of the city. It's having the ambulances available to respond. Even if they moved an ambulance from another location into Clermont, there's no guarantee that unit's going to be available if we're having significant drains on the system. And that's where I want to share one other piece with you. There's something that doesn't necessarily come out with this data. This past Saturday, Chief Bennett, who's actually in the audience with us here today, forwarded an incident that we had on that date. And we had one of our crews that had to respond out of their first due area to cover a call. It was a trauma call at one of our assisted living facilities. The crew called dispatch to request the ETA of the ambulance going to that call, and the dispatch center responded back and said that the response time for the ambulance was going to be 1 hour and 6 minutes. So the crew immediately called back and requested that they reach out to Orange County for a mutual aid unit, and they were able to get the unit that's assigned to the Oakland station, and that unit was able to make it to the scene inside of 25 minutes. So the piece there that I want to put is that's another experience that our crews are having in the field, that they're seeing these times, and because we got the unit out of Orange County, we were able to cut it down to 25 minutes. You'll never see that 1 hour and 6 minute. But those things are occurring, the crews are having to shift, and I can tell you it's a frustration point for them. So, where we're going with this is that we know we have a problem in Lake County. The question is, what's Clermont's role going to be in providing a solution for that? So I know we've talked about the possibility of doing transport services, so that's something that we've been looking at for a long time at the fire department. We're in the process of putting together an implementation plan just so we can lay it out, provide costs to get the services up and running, how long is it going to take, and then what's going to be the cost to keep it sustained throughout the foreseeable future. So we're currently working on that. I've been talking with my staff, asking when we're going to have that ready. They've been reaching out, talking to other transport agencies in the Central Florida area, trying to get additional information to get a good, accurate number when we come back to council. And the information I'm given right now is that we'll have that report ready on or before March 31st. So sometime in the early April timeframe, we should have that to where we can actually bring that in so that you have some numbers to put behind any considerations that you might have. But I just wanted to share the data on what's actually happening inside of Clermont in terms of getting ambulances to the scenes. It's not necessarily delaying life-saving care, but getting a critical patient to a hospital within a reasonable time frame. I mean, we shoot for like our trauma patients, we use the golden hour, and that's from the time of the incident to getting them into a hospital to where they can start the advanced procedures. So it's a gap we know is there, and just want to make sure that we have good awareness on what the information is there. But if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Chief, I'm glad to hear. I was going to ask that question about getting the cost estimate on what it is, what it would cost to re-implement ambulance service here. Of course, I was here long before you was here. We came here. We used to have ambulance service here at our stations, and we ran into some issues there, and we got rid of it and turned it over to the county. I do realize there is a large problem in the county, trying to keep keep manning and everything else. I know last year before last, they was actually having to borrow manning from other counties and everything and help us out here. And I'm all for trying to bring our ambulance back if we can afford to do that. But one of my questions I have is, have we ever really lost a patient or anybody due to the fact that the ambulance wasn't on service? Because I know, as you said in your beginning of your report, we're the fire department, the first one there, and we usually stabilize the patient and wait on ambulance service to get there.
I don't have any hard cases where that's been a factor, where the ambulance arrival time has been an issue, has been a factor in the survivability of a patient. But there's a lot of times that we don't see what happens after we transfer the patient to the hospital. So I don't really have data that I can share with you that would support that either way, as to being an issue or it's not an issue.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask some questions?
Yes, just a second. And then, of course, you asked my other question about the fact that the hour and 6 minutes on that when you was able to get Orange County to come in. So is that going on a regular basis if they find that when you get out there and you stabilize and you think they need to be transported a lot sooner than what we can transport in Lake County, we're reaching out others elsewhere?
Yeah, that case is an outlier, and I don't like to focus too much on outliers, but I felt that one was significant enough to bring to your attention, for one, because of how long it was to get an ambulance if we were relying on the Lake County system. And secondly, like I shared with you, that information is something that you would never see in the data that we prepare, that we send to you weekly on the ambulance responses, because of having that unit come in and cover that. There's no way that you would know that the Lake County system at that point in time could not get an ambulance to that location in less than an hour.
Well, I appreciate the fact that they was able to, Orange County, Lake County was able to work out something and partner up to do that and everything, because I know Orange County having problems over there as well. So, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Chief, This report shows year-to-date. Is that October through February, or is that?
No, this is a calendar year. We went from January 1st up through March 4th.
And how many calls did you say this is?
We had 894 responses into Clermont for transport.
In 2 months.
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
Okay. And
Very busy.
just for the public's sake as well as my own, there's some process where, unlike when we call for fire that our taxes pay for, with an ambulance, there is actually a fee that the user pays. Is that accurate?
Correct. There's a number of funding mechanisms for that program. There is a tax that gets paid with your property taxes. There's an MSTU that helps fund the ambulance services in Lake County. But there is also, anytime that a patient is transported, not if an ambulance comes out, but if they actually transport the patient to a hospital, there is then a fee that is billed to the person.
So as you're investigating this, will you also bring us the numbers of what the expected revenues would be?
That's the big piece that we're looking into.
Okay.
I think we were being very conservative in our numbers, and we've had good conversations with Orange County, Winter Garden, as well as the villages as to what they're actually able to recapture as far as the income per ambulance. So that's the one piece that we're really looking at to determine what's going to be the net impact of the city. And then the other piece there as well is going to be conversations with the county as far as the MSTU dollars that support the ambulance system as to how that works if Clermont is to get into that line of work and start providing those services.
And on this one, the issue of time to the hospital, and Mr. Peterson, I want you to know where I'm at, because please keep in mind, the public, we can't talk unless we're in this meeting. So he doesn't know where my head is. And Chief too, we've talked offline, but I'm cautious and wanting to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing all of our T's on this, because potentially this is it's a potentially large either upfront or ongoing expense for the citizens. But the number one complaint that I hear from the citizens is about traffic. And so if you and I are experiencing traffic to get from point A to point B, certainly our men and women in emergency services are experiencing the same traffic to get from point A to point B. And another factor that I'd like you to speak to very briefly is our hospital here in hospitals here in Clermont. So if anybody is involved in the hospital system that would like to pay attention to what I'm about to say, I would welcome a phone call on this one. Our hospitals in Clermont do not treat pregnant women or children. So any woman who is pregnant or any child in a trauma situation, please correct me if I'm wrong, needs to be transported to Orlando. So during that time, not only are our ambulances or the Lake County ambulances out of reach in that traffic that I just talked about, but also the firemen and women who are treating that patient and the medics that are treating that patient are now not available to anyone else who might need service during that time. So because of traffic and because of distance and because of the medical ambulance, the hospital services that we have in this city, we potentially have these emergency response vehicles out of pocket for how much time is where I'm going with this one.
That is absolutely a factor, and that's something that can happen. Actually, any trauma alert patients are going to be transferred over to Orlando or whatever the closest facility is, and if it's not going by a helicopter transport, then it will go by a ground unit. So, and that is a factor. They're going to have to take the time to travel there. There's going to be the transfer of the patient, getting the ambulance ready, and then getting back into zone. So that will be a factor that we have to deal with.
And for those who don't know, a helicopter from Clermont to Arnold Palmer is $60,000. That the citizen has to pay.
So when they have to transport to Orange County or Orlando or everything, you can almost count them out of pocket for at least 2 hours, basically.
I would say that's probably a reasonable estimate.
At least. Okay. All right. Thank you. And I know that was one of the factors, and of course, it's so many factors involved here. And as I said years ago, when we had all these things was considered, and it's been some time, but before when they made the decision to take ambulance out of Clermont.
And we can have bad days too.
Yes.
Where you've got an ambulance that's out, we've got a lot of concurrent calls that are happening. Right. So even if we added ambulances, I can't guarantee that there won't be times we don't have delays. But my goal would be, if we get into that line of work, we start looking at that 90th percentile, and we want to see that number come down and get very close, if not at a 10-minute time mark.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you for all your work on this.
Again, I commend you and your department on your quick response time, because you all, as a matter of life-saving, are the lifesavers there, not the transport. Yes, you all, and I commend you all for the fast response time. As I've told you many times in the past, when I go to other cities, that's one of the things I look at and ask about their response time. And I don't think I've been to another city that beat our response times yet. So, again, thank you for the service you all do.
And if I can, Mr. Peterson, I appreciate you taking the lead on this one because I can see you're passionate about it and you've brought it up every meeting. So thank you for that, and I'll support you if I can. And for me, the numbers are the most important thing.
Right.
So keep bringing me the
Well, I think
numbers.
what we're going to really find out is the numbers are going to really turn around because of the money we can recapture. So, you know, along with MTSU money that we can get from the county, and also that we could do billing for it. It gets billed through everybody's insurance. It's not like we're going to say, well, we're not going to take you unless you give me $500. We'll take them anyway and bill later. But I mean, I think you had told me before that it's easier to maneuver an ambulance because there's only 2 people on board as opposed to a truck or a ladder truck that you have to, you know, have multiple people on board. So like just to answer that traffic situation, I think they could move a lot quicker through the traffic. And also, they only need 2 people, which keeps the other equipment available for additional calls.
So are we envisioning that the ambulance could actually be the first responder to a medical call? Is that what
It
we're
would
saying?
depend on the call. That's something that we are looking at. There would more likely be calls that we could just send the ambulance to. The cost of operation is much lower than a fire truck. So pretty much all the calls that go out right now, we're sending a fire truck and an ambulance to those calls. And there's some, if we were getting into that business, I would want to look at how we're handling our responses and make the determination on where we could hold back the engines and not waste the extra, but not spend the extra, resources on those calls. And they would be the lower acuity calls, not the ones that are life-threatening, but the ones where, somebody's been sick for 3 days and now they want to be evaluated and go to the hospital.
Okay, great. Thank you. Keep up the good work. I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
That was it, sir? Okay, well, I guess now my report. I think we've already talked about no council on the 25th. Pups in the Park, you mentioned already. Since there will be no meeting on the 25th, I would just like to remind everybody my mayor's luncheon for the month of April will be at Cantina's Mexican restaurant. That's I think it's the 1st of April, it's the first Tuesday. I always do a luncheon on the first Tuesday of each month. Invite anyone out to come out and hear an update on what's going on in the city and ask any question you wish. Only thing is you have to pay for your own lunch, okay? The city does not pay for your lunch, but you're welcome to join me. It's my way of reaching out and being in touch with you, okay? That's the first Tuesday of each month, and this month we'll be at Cantina's. I don't see Chief Broadway. He's not here. Did you want to, huh? I thought he was going to be here, but did you want to go ahead and let him know what's going on?
Sure.
Or you want me?
I was hoping to allow the chief to do that, but I texted him, Mr. Mayor, so I'm hoping he's coming here. But sadly, Chief Broadway talked with me yesterday afternoon, and he let us know that Kissimmee went ahead and wanted to hire him and extended him an offer to become the police chief of Kissimmee. So sadly for us, he accepted that. So he will start on April 1st in Kissimmee, and we let him know we're going to miss him terribly, but we also wish him well and Godspeed in what he's doing. And my prayer is the impact he's made here, he'll make there as well. And in the meantime, people have asked me, what about Clermont? Well, we have our gentleman who's our deputy, John Grasick. He's stepping in to become the interim. And then I'll get with the council and get their input, and we'll figure out where we're going from there. But day one, he is in the position, so have no fear. He's a very capable gentleman that's able to help us with this. So thanks for letting me share that. I was hoping he could do it in person, but he's not here for whatever reason right now.
Well, I had it on my list here, but I was hoping he would be here too to share it since we don't have a council meeting on the 25th, and I have the opportunity to address everyone. Let me say, I can remember meeting Chief Broadway he was Captain Broadway when he first came here, some 13 years or so ago, I think it was. I met him in McKinney Park on a day I was doing a program in McKinney Park. He walked up, and I was quite shocked to see us actually have captain a black captain in our police department. He came out with Chief Graham at the time. They introduced him. I think he had been here about 2 weeks. He got involved in the community, involved with me, working with a lot of different things. We created did a lot of different programs together, the betterment of the community and everything. We continue to do one now. Every quarter we continue to do a community security program, I guess, where he come out, the police department come out and give us an update on what's going on and help advise the citizen on any scams and all that's going on. And that's open to any community out here. All you have to do is get with the police department, community service department, and they'll be happy to set up those type meetings for you. He continued to support my Christmas Eve parties and barbecues in I think that's what I was having when I first met him, a barbecue, what we call Kick It Off for the Summer, where we were promoting recognizing our kids for having a fantastic year in school, and promoting a safe, drug-free, crime-free summer. Okay, and the police department played a big role in that. They came out and had hands-on with our kids and everything. And when we started that program, I saw a big change in the community. Okay, in our youth and everything. At the time, we were having a lot of crime and everything going on in the community, a lot of drug activity in the community. But with that hands-on approach he used, which I call community policing, we have changed the community. So a lot of other various programs I continue to do these days because of him, with his support and everything. I think we'll be in capable hands with the Deputy Chief. I remember I started working with him when he first came on the police department. He was out there with me doing the drugs, trying to clean up some of the drugs in the city as a little officer. I mean, knowing much of nothing, so I've seen him grow and progress through the years and everything, and I think we're in very good, capable hands with Deputy Chief, okay? So if you see him, and I wish him the best of luck. Some people ask me how I let him get away. Hey, I will never stand in the way of any man's progress, okay? I think each and every one of us sitting out there always look to go higher and higher in all our careers, and this was an opportunity for him. I hate that you lose him, but hey, progress is progress. Keep climbing. And I wish you the best of luck.
And Mr. Mayor, I had a similar conversation with him last week when he was in the final two. I called him and I've known him for a long time, and we've had a good relationship over the years. And, I asked him, because I see the citizens asking the same question, why, and he just explained to me, and I feel like he would if he was here. And I know he meant to be here because I just met with him 3 hours ago for our prep meeting. So I'm sure something came up that he has to do for the citizens of Clermont. Is just that he's wanted to do something bigger. He's been here almost 15 years, and that's a long time to be in one place, and didn't expect this to come up. It allows his family to stay here in Clermont because they do love it here in Clermont. And so he didn't think it was going to happen. It happened. He didn't think he'd get that far. He got that far. And I shared with him I would support him whatever he decided and however it turned out. So I do wish him the best, and I'm sure I'll see him between now and April 1st. I told him to come out to the ball fields because he'll be able to find me out there, as you can tell from my face. But
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And let me go back to some of your comments, and I totally agree with you about the contracts in the city. Normally, those contracts, like with the boathouses and Boys and Girls Clubs and all the other different contracts, they are normally done by staff. I don't know how they got such a shambles this time around with this one contract. But I totally agree with you in the fact that, hey, the council need to get out of it and let city staff do it. This contract with the boathouse has been, it should have been done and completed. I know we had started working on it, to be honest with you, last year, and we pretty much had it pretty much set, I thought, until January rolled around and something happened, and we getting too many people involved with it. And I know I talked with city manager and Mr. Foreman yesterday about what I expect, and I see nothing wrong with the contract we had and everything else. And I asked them to go ahead and push forward to it. I'm trying to stay out of it as much as I can because, as I told them yesterday, this has been the worst contract negotiation I've seen in the city in all the years, all the contracts I've been involved with. I've never had to do this. The city manager and the city staff is always taking care of the contract, bring them to the city council and say, hey, here's what we're doing, period. They have the expertise. They work with these people every day. They know what's going on with everything at all times. All right. I do feel that one of the reasons this one got in the muds and everything is because of personal feelings got involved. And personal, as I told them yesterday, we need to get they need to get the personal feelings out of it and do what they need to do to get the contract through. Okay, so we can keep helping our kids in the community. So I totally agree with you that staff need to be doing, we need to stop. We can't sit up here and make decisions based on our personal feelings. We have to do what's best for the city and the residents and everything. So hopefully staff will go ahead and take that over and get that contract done for us. I will try to get in touch with the tourist development and see what's going on. I was told they didn't take the vote. I didn't know they didn't take the vote. I was told they voted not to let you on the board. Okay, and so my question was to us was, do we have to sign somebody new? But if they didn't take the vote, let's find out why they didn't take the vote. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm in support of that. Okay.
So we'd all like to see them take a vote.
Yes. Yeah, well,
I'd
one
like to see
way or
that.
another, either yea or nay.
I'm very interested in
You
seeing
know,
how that vote goes.
and everything. But I was told, the word came back to me that they voted against you being on the board. Okay, I said, okay, well, I can't force them, you know, and everything. But do we need to go back and reassign somebody else to the tourist board or what? But if they didn't take the vote, first we need to have them take the vote. Okay.
Well, and I've asked Mr. Wada if it's okay with council to determine if they get a say in who we appoint to that council. The statute says that the city gets a member on that board. It doesn't say that the county gets to approve that member.
Okay, I was curious about
well,
that.
Well,
and I haven't seen anything to the contrary.
Well, and let me say this here, because I sit on other boards and other organizations where basically I've been just forced a member that I didn't too particularly care to be there. I don't have no problem trying to say, hey, if you don't want somebody for a certain reason and everything, and personally, I don't want to be on a board they don't want me on. Okay.
Well, remember, this isn't the TDC voting, it's the Board of County Commissioners. So the TDC is an advisory board to the Board of County Commissioners, and the function of the TDC is to give professional and advice in the industry to the Board of County Commissioners so that they make a good choice. It's not to make decisions, it's not a decision-making body. So that is something to keep in mind.
Well, I'll try to get in touch with them and see why they didn't take a vote, and at least make a vote, and see, and we can probably go from there if that's okay.
Would you like me to reach out to the county manager? I already have talked to her once.
You can do that too, sir, if you wish.
I'm asking you if you'd like me to do that.
You can.
Okay.
And I think it's Mr. Smith, the chairman of the TDC?
He is.
Yeah, okay. Commissioner. Okay. The last thing I had is Mr. Van Wagner mentioned it about we'll be in Tallahassee for Legislative Days on the 23rd, from the 24th through the 26th. That's called Legislative Days. I'm asking the council members, each one of the council members, please tune in, chime in, do whatever you need to look at some of the bills that they bringing forth to the legislature this year. There's some in particular that I think is very concerning to me. As every year I bring out a few of them, and bear with me while I read off some of these, and I'm gonna just give it a short, but it's, if I'm not mistaken, House Bill 991 and Senate Bill is, correspondent is Senate Bill 1242, and that's terminating CRAs. They looking to pass law to terminate CRAs. If that happens, that can put a big hamper on your cities all over the state and everything, and your business districts and all. So you may want to read up on that and chime in. Another one is Senate Bill, I think it's 1704, House Bill 1523, enterprise funds transfer. Basically, that bill is looking to limit how much money we can transfer from enterprise funds to another fund here within the city. I think they're looking at limit it to 10%. Okay, that can also put a kind of make budgeting a little interesting for us as well. Senate Bill 1730, House Bill 943. That's the Live Local. They're looking to do even more with the Live Local. That one we should really take interest in, because one of the things I understand in the Live Local, they're talking about legalizing ADUs. Essentially dwelling units. If you look at that, checked into that, basically any property now will be eligible for Live Local. is one of the things they're doing. Right now, in the Live Local, they passed 3 years ago, the only property eligible to take advantage of Live Local is industrial, commercial, and mixed use. But basically, under this new bill, if they get it through, it's any property you have in the city. Okay, a residential, it doesn't matter whether it's residential, commercial, whatever, any property will be eligible for Live Local. So you may want to look at that. It's also looking to reduce impact fees, okay? While we've been fighting over the last 2-3 years to try to increase impact fees, they're looking to reduce them because impact fees is what help us keep our roads and get new roads and new facilities with the growth we have. So we need to look at it. And I hear it's one other thing in there right now. And the Live Local, if one developer applied for Live Local, a set of apartments, whatever, and Live Local, there had to be 70 units, I think it is, Kurt, 70 units that had to be designated is low income, workforce low income. I think in this bill, I'm hearing that they talking about reducing that down to 1 unit, okay? And in the bill written right now, if they qualify as affordable housing, low-income housing, workforce housing, if they qualify with the 70 unit, that qualifies them to be exempt from taxes altogether, okay? In other words, you can put 300 apartments out there and everything, they meet these qualifications and everything, they do not even have to pay taxes to the city, okay? So that one you may want to really look into and see what else they're coming up, because we already being hurt with that Live Local. It's hurting us quite a bit. The other one, which I think everybody in here may be happy with if they got this one through, is the property tax. Okay, looking to eliminate all property tax. That sounds good and everything else, but my concern with that one is the fact that if they eliminate it, how do we operate our city? Clermont would maybe, if we talking about maybe, I was in a conference a few weeks ago, months ago, I guess it was, sitting in on a conversation with them, and they were saying sales tax in the area may even go up as high as 20%. So what effect would that have on our tourist dollars and everything as well? And my biggest concern is, how would that money be allocated back to the cities? Okay, how can it be allocated back to the cities? And the other thing,
What was that bill number? The property tax?
I forget the number on that one, but it's I know even the governor, he's
governor's talking about
he's
it.
supporting that, eliminating property tax.
Yeah.
We'll be the first state in the union to get rid of property taxes, okay? And it's concerning to me. I think Clermont will be okay if we can be guaranteed how the money is allocated, because we have a large amount of commercial, but cities like Mount Vernon, Mineola, that doesn't have much commercial, how they recoup all them dollars? Okay, our budget right now I think our Evan Lawrence is about $24 million a year is what we've considered from property tax. So how will we recoup that $23 million to keep our service? And guess who's gonna suffer? What department's gonna suffer the worst? It's firing police, because they take up 63% of the budget. So automatically.
Well, I mean, we need to have that conversation. I'm not sure that that's how I would choose to make the cuts.
Well, it may not be how you choose to make a cut, but when they take up 63% of the budget and everything else, it's no way. I don't think it's any way around not having to do something with fire and police. And the last one I'm concerned with is HB 301 SB 1570. Claims on torques. Basically, I think this one went through last year to the legislature. We got defeated. It was defeated. Didn't pass last year, but basically what it's going, that is saying we're going to take a tort claim right now, the highest maximum they can be paid is $200,000. They want to move it up to $1 million, okay? And another personal, Mr. Wise, that personal claim, that's $300,000. They talking about moving it up to $2 million or $3 million, is it?
For the aggregate, yeah.
So that fall the biggest corners on the cities itself. So these kind of things we need to be aware of. And if you all agree with me, we can have Mr. Ward draft up us a letter in opposition of any one of these bills that you see fit, or any other bills you look at, and we can have it signed and sent up to our legislators. But I need you to all look into them things as soon as possible and let me know what's your desire. Okay.
Well, I agree with you, because I already looked at those, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, there's other bills out there. There's plenty of them
Yeah,
out
the
there.
ones you said, yeah, I looked at those
But these are
already.
the
Yeah, I
ones,
agree.
and
especially that property tax thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
property tax
definitely.
is very scary, and I guarantee if you get on the ballot, we ain't gonna
The people
lose.
gonna pass it. They're gonna pass it, because they don't necessarily realize how would it impact the cities.
But these are
negatively.
just some of the bills out there. I mean, if you want to, it's, you can get the number from Miss Debbie and everything on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, Florida League of Cities. They do a conference at from 9 to 9:30. It's only 30 minutes.
Yep.
And it's all on by phone. You can call in, and they go through all these different bills that's of interest to the city, as Florida League of Cities try to protect home rule for us, okay?
Yep.
So you're welcome to get that number and do the call in on Monday
Yep,
morning
I
at
do
9
it.
o'clock and listen to all the bills. Unfortunately, I caught the last 5 minutes on this past Monday, so I didn't get all the bills they talked about this past Monday. These are just the one from Monday before last. Okay.
Okay, thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Yeah. Other than that, I think, last thing I want to remind, and Mr. Ward reminded me of this, is we are required to have ethics training every year. Okay, I think, Mr. Ward, didn't you send out a link to that?
Yeah, so I sent out a link to some training that satisfies the annual requirement. You can take it anytime, at home, whatever. So when you do your form disclosure, you could check the box.
Well, I'll be honest, I went on there, and I thought I went through the whole training. They said they were going to send a certificate or email or whatever. I have not received it. I did it the next day after you sent it out.
The good news for you, Mayor, is it's just a self-reporting thing, and they're not going to come after
So
you.
low.
So
Well, I thought they said
I had
in
the same experience.
Introduction that they said they would be sending certificates, so we have some kind of proof.
I can follow up if you
Okay.
want.
Well, that's fine. I
Sure.
know I went through it now.
Yeah, no, I believe you. I believe you.
But I just encourage you all, this must be done by July, I think it is, and everything, so, but don't let the time slip away on you. It is a 4-hour mandatory ethics training that you have to go through every year, okay? And the link is out there, so if you haven't taken it, I think one of the disheartening things I found about that one was, I think I had to sit through the whole 4 hours at one time. I think our previous attorney had training where we can do it in 2 hours increments, okay? Okay, you know, so free up your 4 hours and please get through it.
I hear you.
All right, I have nothing else. I'm sorry taking up, but these are some of the things that have been legislative days just started last week. Again, long as legislative days go, on Monday morning, 9 o'clock, you can listen in for 30 minutes for the Florida League of Cities. They go over all the different bills and things that they have concern with that is a threat to home rule, okay? So,
Thank you.
thank you. And let me know if anybody wants to, if you all come to agreement in any of these bills we want to send up opposition to, we can go ahead and get the letter drafted up and send the opposition as soon as possible before they take the votes, you know, all right? All right? Thank you. That's it. That's all I have. Anybody else have anything else? If not, we'll move on to the next portion of the meeting, which is the consent agenda, which contains items that have been determined to be routine and non-controversial. If anyone in the audience wishes to address a particular item on the consent agenda, now is the opportunity for you to do so. Additionally, staff, members of the council, if there's anything on the consent agenda you want to speak to specifically, you have the same opportunity as everyone else. You can have that item pulled from the consent agenda. Today's consent agenda is items number 1 through 10. Is there any item that need to be pulled? Oh, no items need to be pulled? In that case, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve items number 1 through 10 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Chair vote aye as well. Motion passes 4-0. All righty, now unfinished business is the next thing on the agenda. Item number 11, ordinance number 2025-003.
An ordinance under the Code of Ordinances of the City of Clermont, Lake County, Florida, amending the official zoning map of the City of Clermont, referred to in Chapter 122 of Ordinance Number 289C, Code of Ordinances, rezoning the real properties described herein as shown below, providing for conflict, severability, administrative correction of scrivener's error, recording, publication, and an effective date.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council members, and guests. John Cruz, Development Services. This is Agenda Item 11, Magnolia Center PUD Amendment. The applicant is requesting an amendment to the Magnolia Point Center PUD to allow up to 5 fast food restaurants within the PUD, with 4 of these located on Lot 3. Magnolia Point Center is located south of State Road 50 and east of Magnolia Point Boulevard. The property is approximately 22 acres in size, with the majority of the site built out. And on the display, the outlined area in yellow is the 22 acres. And this is Lot 3, which is here on the aerial. This is Highway 50, Magnolia Point Boulevard on the west. The PUD was approved in Lake County in 2009 under ordinance number 2009-8 with conditions limiting specific uses on certain lots. The city of Clermont annexed the property in 2018, keeping the original entitlements. The allowable uses are C1 light commercial and C2 general commercial with exclusion of certain uses and permissible uses throughout the site. The only remaining vacant pieces are Lot 3 and a few pads within Lot 6. And this is Lot 6, and there's a couple vacant pads, and then again Lot 3. On page 3 of the city's ordinance, under Section 3, it states no more than 3 fast food restaurants shall be permitted. The applicant is requesting an amendment to increase the number to 5 and allow 4 fast food restaurants within Lot 3. And on the display outlined is the only thing that would change in the ordinance. Currently, there exists a Dunkin' Donut on Lot 2, which will be included in the count of 5. And the applicant is proposing a 7,000 square foot building that will be comprised of 3 fast food restaurants. And here is the proposed 7,000 square foot building. And on the end of the building, a proposal for a twisty treat. And that is a sample elevation. Based upon the information provided, the project will be required to have a minimum of 57 spaces. The applicant is providing 58 spaces, and the twisty treat will primarily be served via drive-through. The applicant has indicated that the amendment will enable Magnolia Point Center to better serve community needs by increasing dining options while maintaining compatibility with the PUD's overall design and operational guidelines. In consideration of support of the project, city staff requested documentation from the Magnolia Point Homeowners Association that proposed amendment would be supported by the development. And this letter is also in your packet. A letter from Ellis Property Management Company is within the agenda packet indicating support of the amendment. Staff has reviewed the application and proposed project in regards to section 125-486 review criteria for a plan unit development. The proposed amendment to allow the additional fast food restaurants does not appear to impact the surrounding property, and the uses are currently allowed within the PUD. Staff has no evidence that with this amendment the overall characteristics of the project will change, and it appears that it may be better serve the surrounding community. The conceptual layout on Lot 3 appears to meet the Land Development Code. Staff is able to support the request and recommends approval of Ordinance 2025-003. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval 7-0. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, sir. Is the applicant present?
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council members. My name is John Abion. I'm with Florida Engineering Group. We're the civil engineers representing the developer. We concur with staff's recommendation, and we respectfully ask you to approve our request. Mr. Cruz did a great job presenting our case. I'm here mainly if you have any questions for me.
Wow, thank you. I think that's the record of a presentation record, but we appreciate it, sir. If we have any questions, we will call you back up later, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
But this is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wish to address this item, may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Yes, sir.
1114 Windy Bluff Drive, Mineola. Something like this happened in Mineola, and I just want you to think about it. When you approve the PUD, you might want to put in there what they can't put in there, because Mineola did approve a strip mall like this, and the applicant was really nice, and then the first thing that went in was a smoke shop. So if you reverse back and say you can have all this, but you might want to think what you want to limit them putting in to the building too, just because the first thing you want to see coming from Highway 50 into Clermont is to the left, and it will look like Leesburg. By the mall, those shops are going in everywhere. So just food for thought.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wishing to address this item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes.
Vincent Nemec, Regency Hills. I'm here to speak on myself and myself only. Think about what you're going to vote on. Think about it. Think about the location, and think about a drive-through with hardly any space for anything to get by on that only exit out and in on the front. They can't park in front of the buildings. They have to park in the back because that's how much space they're taking up. So please look at all the options before you vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wishing to address the item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes.
Hello, Jenny May, 4062 Greystone. I also am speaking for myself as the resident of Clermont. In regards to I agree with the gentleman that we should make sure that the tenants are what the community should get, not more pawn shops or what do you call it, a smoke shop. In regards to the Twisty Treat, you know, I've seen the Twisty Treat, the cone. I have no issues with the Twisty Treat itself. But I do believe that businesses should start looking at more modern design. I did pass by a Twisty Treat in Winter Gardens that followed the suit of the building. So I think with design, it's just something that should be looked at by the architect or the designer, that they should at least make the building more conformed and just modernize. Everybody else is modernizing themselves. The McDonald's are, the 7-Elevens, the Dunkin' Donuts, they're all becoming more modern. I just believe the Twisty Treats, just the cone itself, it's just kind of odd. So that's just my opinion as a resident. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, board.
Yeah.
My name is Joseph Bander. I actually have an office on Pagonia. It's one of the buildings up front over here. I do want to, I have a unique position because we get to see the traffic that goes in and out of the Dunkin' Donuts. Matter of fact, we saw the Dunkin' Donuts being built. There is a traffic issue in the egress onto Highway 50. They can come out on Magnolia Point Boulevard and come out that way, and it's probably a little safer, but that there is a lot of traffic in that area, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen more accidents there. With regards to the Twisty Treat, do we know what other franchises are going in there? Yes, no, other than the Twisty Treat. So my issue with that would probably be the aesthetics, like the young lady mentioned about the cone. I don't know if that really fits that area. There's a lot of medical offices over there. I don't know. Do they use it as a landmark now? We turn by the Twisty Treat, you know. So
Probably.
I don't know. I think there's some consideration about that should be taken into consideration to preserve the aesthetics of that area. So traffic, aesthetics, and I just, again, have concerns about any other buildings or businesses that may be going in there without having a little forethought of those coming in. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wish to address this item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I close public comment, bring it back to council. What say council?
One of the things that I think I asked about is, did we pass a ruling for 6,000 maximum, or is that just on a single building, not on a strip? Just so
Now for the downtown
Okay.
business district.
Secondly, do we have say in what businesses go into any, does the property owner have a right to put whatever he wants to put in there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can't put stipulations in that say, okay, you can't have a slot machine store with it.
Well, I think that's already out there as an ordinance
Right.
against certain things.
Okay,
I
so
know
we don't have any say in that.
Well, I'll let Mr. Warren give you the legal.
The answer is yes and no. You can go up to a certain point. So your land development code regulates uses, types of uses for a given zoning, but it doesn't regulate what specific person that does the use. It's not cities typically are not able to pick and choose between McDonald's and Burger King if it's a
Right.
fast food place, for example. But you do have some control over the aesthetics, the signage, things like that is in your code.
Okay.
One of the things we can do here, if you worry about the aesthetics, is you can probably put it in there, if you decide to approve this PUD, put it in the fact that we have to approve the aesthetics and everything first.
And to your point, Mayor, let me just point out you have Land Development Code 101-212, which talks about what the criteria
Right.
are. It talks about density, it talks about compatibility, it talks about utilities and site planning and the things that go into that. So you are able to consider those things.
Right, right,
But that's with the final site plan, right?
yeah. Before they finalize everything, it has to come back to us for final approval on the aesthetics and everything, yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
If that's what we choose to do, okay?
We don't have any sort of architectural standards in our current code, do we?
We have some.
We do have architectural standards. They're referenced by our code, but they've been in place since 2007, 8, 9. So we do have architectural standards out there.
And granted, I think one of the things we started trying to do is do a little bit more of that. Ask a developer, before finalization and everything, and come back to the council for approval on aesthetics and everything. So we were starting to get around to doing that more.
Now, didn't he say that this is going to be for restaurants, correct? This is what you're trying to put in here, just restaurants only, correct?
That is correct. No smoke shop, so it's only restaurants. And I can share with you actually what potentially the other restaurant, just so kind of put
Okay,
everybody
yes,
at
please
ease.
share.
We're looking at Fortuna Bakery and Cafe, Blended Bistro and Boba Tea, and Potbelly Sandwich Shop. So these are fast casual dining, and basically they're a little bit higher than fast dining, so we do have really nice, good restaurants to come over here, plus Twisted Treat. I don't know who doesn't like Twisted Treat. We can work to a certain extent. It's iconic, the Twisted Treat, obviously, and we like to maintain that architectural. If we have to do some minor changes, maybe we can work with that, but typically, we have done other projects in the city of Clermont where you have iconic things for a certain business, and they like to maintain that. That's important. When people see it from 2 miles away, they know that's what it is. And it's a small structure. If you look at it, if you look at the plan we have, that's not a big structure that you're looking at. So it's not gonna be overwhelming. It's gonna be, 20 feet high. No, that's a small structure, basically. And nobody's gonna see it unless you're driving on 50 and you're looking for it. Okay, and you can see you still have it here on the screen. Definitely not an overwhelming structure, very small building. So with that, I think we're bringing really a nice options for the community. We still have the same square footage. It's not like we're building a 50,000 square foot area. Still 7,000 square feet with 500 for Twisted Treat. We're just providing more menus, if you want to think about it in that manner. And beyond that, everything else that was mentioned is really site plan oriented in terms of the drive-through, in terms of everything else. We go through a site planning with the city of Clermont, and they go through all these details. The fire department get involved, everybody get involved. We have to provide auto turn to show how the fire vehicle goes around. So, and even, we have to provide, traffic studies. So all this is done when we go through actual final engineering. Right now, we're just doing the entitlement, and if you put it in perspective, we're still a small building that we're trying to have different options in it.
Here's how I look at these, and I think what you hear, what I've heard when I'm sitting in the audience and what I hear while I'm up here, and please, Mr. Wall, correct me if I get out of line, is generally speaking, we see pictures like this and we see projects like this and we feel like we have to say yes because of, property rights. And what's happening, in my opinion, and I mean no disrespect to the presenter, is we have engineered designs, meaning these are drawings that are made by the eye of a person who's considering the metal, the vehicular traffic. We don't have designs. We don't have designers doing these projects. Planners coming in and saying, how do we make this human friendly? You're not looking at this and saying, I want to walk there. I don't think anybody in Magnolia Point is saying, I want to walk here. I don't think the gentleman who said he works across the street. I mean, here's an opportunity for you to have a place for lunch. Now, unless I'm wrong, Mr. Waugh, I don't think we can say no to this unless we simply say we don't like the design. What I don't want to do is discourage folks who want to come in and build good business projects to come into Clermont and build good business projects. But I think it's up to us to speak to the folks who are doing the projects what's important. And for me, what's important is the human friendliness of a design, not the vehicular friendliness of this design. And this one's hard because it's on Highway 50. So it's on a highway. So you've got this balance of you're intending to go from Orlando to Clermont to Groveland on this road, and yet I look at it and think it should be serving the residents of Magnolia Point, and this project in particular is accessed by Magnolia Point Boulevard. So I think there's a real opportunity here for the property owner to design something potentially in the site plan process, because I don't want to discourage this property owner, but to design something that the adjacent businesses and the adjacent property owners would want to get on their bike or their golf cart and go to. And nobody's going to do that when you've got this massive asphalt that's black and no shade, and it's just not human and walking friendly. You're laughing. Am I out of
thought
line?
you said something you didn't.
I didn't say what you think
Yeah.
I said. Asphalt
Right.
was the word I used.
Sorry.
So I think that's what, at least when I look at this, it's like I don't want to say no because I don't feel legally like I have a right to say no, but I don't like it because it's not human friendly. I like the idea of having different shops. I would love this down the street from me so I could walk there, so I could bike there. So I guess that's kind of, I'd like to hear more feedback from the council on
If I can
that.
put you at ease a little bit, the site plan we have meets city requirements. We're not
I don't
gonna
like
come-
our requirements,
I'm
so
sorry.
I don't like our code. So I'll just be straight up with you on that.
We have to comply with something, right? We have to comply with your code in the city and with the PUD. So we're not asking for any waivers. We meet open space, we meet parking requirements, we meet everything that you require of us. We meet that. Now, in terms of the overall, if you look, I mean, the overall PUD is 22 acres. We're only 1.38 acres, so we have a small out parcel, and there is so much we can do with it. I like to be a creative guy. Engineers are not known to be creative, but I like to be creative. But with 1.38, and you have to meet the parking requirement that the city has, you don't have a lot of options on a small lot, right? And so, but even with that, we attempted to have that building look as nice as possible. That doesn't mean we can't work with your staff when we go through architectural review, because when we submit the site plan, they still look at the building. And we're open to work with them, as long as we don't lose our identity in this project. We can work with the city, so we look close to the same as everything else that is being developed back there. But at the end of the day, as you mentioned, Commissioner, you have a lot of homes behind us. All Magnolia Point will be coming over here. Now, how they're gonna get there, I have to look. There is a sidewalk that eventually gets you to us. It's a long walk. I mean, I don't know if I'll walk. I'll probably drive my car from there, but some people younger than me will probably, walk over there. So you do have sidewalks that get you to our project from Magnolia Point, and there are a lot of homes back there. So we feel with the options we have, with, you know, the site that we have, we meet your requirement, we meet the use that we have approved. We're not asking to change the use. We're just saying, hey, we may have a couple of more menus on the table. That's really our request of you. So I understand what you're saying, and I understand where you're going with it, and we really did everything possible to get the best possible site plan on 1.38 acres and still meet your requirements.
Are you intending to serve the people driving on Highway 50 or the residents of Magnolia Point? What is the target?
Open, obviously, we're open for everybody, so it's not, you know, restricted to any client base, but from a...
Well, but it does, because as soon as you make it auto-centric, you're restricting children from riding their bikes in a safe way to get there. As soon as you put a quarter mile of sidewalk that doesn't have any shade, you're restricting the residents from walking there, because we live in Florida and it's either hot or it's raining, and that's pretty much it, other than 2 days a year. So we are making a choice. And Mr. Waugh, if you can give me some counsel, I would like to see a different design, but I've not been silent about our code and my wish to have a new one.
So I think that your first well, let me put a conflict of interest out there first. I think anytime a Twisty Treat wants to go somewhere, it should go. I love Twisty Treat. If there's an abandoned sailboat, put a Twisty Treat in. But that said, what your code actually says for planned unit developments is that, first of all, whenever you have an amendment to something that's already been approved, we're talking about a PUD that already has been approved.
By the county.
They're seeking amendment. Right.
15 years ago.
Right. But it still gets considered under the same criteria in your code, even though it's an amendment. And you do have some discretion over whether or not the proposed plans, I don't want to say you're locked in just based on whether or not you are told that there is a site plan that might work. In other words, some of the concerns that have been raised are, well, we'll deal with that in the site plan stage. What if there's no site plan conceivable that in your mind would work? That's something that could be within your discretion. Your code talks about other factors, mostly, you know, does it work for the infrastructure? Does it work for the parking? The traffic circulation pattern is, you know, something that you can consider based on the application. So I don't think you're as straitjacketed as you suggested.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to see a human-friendly design.
I mean, I don't know what you consider human-friendly. I think it's all out there human-friendly. I mean, being very familiar with the area, I don't care whether the sidewalks have trees or not, people, especially when you're right next door to Magnolia Point, you have 300, I think it's 300 apartments, isn't it, Kurt? Which means a lot of kids. And I don't think kids worry about walking somewhere where there's shade at, and if they want to go, they're going to walk. And we have sidewalks and things throughout the city right now without trees that people are walking on, okay? So to sit here and try to say, hey, we need to have, it's not people friendly because we don't have sidewalk with trees. I can't agree with that. And I think across the street, from there we have another 300 apartments. So I think not only are they serving Magnolia Point, they'll be serving the apartments complex next to Magnolia Point, the one across the street. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we're going to have a dilemma here coming up pretty soon where it's another set of apartments coming in across the, well, application for another set of apartments across the street there very soon. So, which tells me a lot of kids, and kids don't worry about walking in sun or shade, okay? If they're ready to go somewhere, they're walking.
But Mr. Mayor, I worry about them walking in front of vehicles. And that's what I'm looking for, is a design that encourages walking, biking, golf carts.
You're right. I worry about walking in front of vehicles. That's why I try to make sure sidewalks out there. I try to make sure we have crosswalks out there to try to keep them as safe as possible, okay? But we can't stop them from walking, you know, and they'll be walking that. So just to say, because I don't think it's human-friendly, I mean, I look around any facility here, what's a human-friendly facility? I guess is what I'm getting at. What you consider human-friendly, you know? The people have to be living right there in the building so they can just walk down to the facilities or what? And the talk about whether, you know, to consider whether they're gonna service cars on Highway 50, you can't stop people from Highway 50 coming in and utilizing the facilities, okay? I don't think we can put that kind of restriction on people out on the highway, can we, Mr. Watt?
No.
I've always been concerned with the traffic out there. I remember when the first medical facility came in out there, working in the post office. That was one of my concerns. How are the people gonna get in and out, and how aggravating it'll be for the people in Magnolia Point, because they added all this traffic to their interest into their subdivision. And that was one of my questions when I looked at this. If I want to go back to the west on Highway 50, which way I have to come out of that facility is go back out to Magnolia Point to get on Highway 50 and go back, which means that's a lot of added traffic, but at the same time, I can't say no because of traffic. Okay.
If I may, Mayor, if I may, just, you know, the PUD is entitled for 300,000 square feet,
Yeah.
just to kind of start big picture. So what we ask is to be, you know, held to the same criteria that everybody else, you know. And so when we come to you and ask for 2 additional restaurants, we're not changing the use per se. If we come with 2 restaurants, we just can do whatever we're doing here. We just chop the building in half and we're done. So going back to your criteria, Commissioner, it's very tough to do humane. It's not defined. We have to work with your code. You have a land development code. That's the rule that you have in Clermont. And we have to comply with the rule. So when we come to you, this is an entitlement issue. Now, we can, you know, change probably little things, but we can't change with the restrictions of the lot a lot without affecting us. So the point I'm trying to make is we comply with your rules. We comply with the land development. If we went with 2 restaurants, we'll be submitting a site plan and it'll be all technical. The only reason why we're here is we're asking you for 2 more restaurants on the same footprint. We're not asking to have it bigger. So we cannot restrict people coming from State Road 50. It's open to everybody. We have to be held to the same criteria like everybody else on this PUD. Everybody can walk to any office or to, what's the other fast food restaurant there? I forgot.
It's a
Wendy's. So they all walk
Wendy's.
from State Road 50 and get to it. So we like to have the same rights. We cannot restrict our ability to have people coming into our restaurants. So if you ask us, we are complying with your rules. We're building sidewalks where we're required to build sidewalks. And we are limiting everything else to what you require in the PUD. We're meeting the PUD fully. The only request is just these 2 restaurants. So I think having this on the south side of 50 is going to attract more people from Magnolia Point. You know, I don't think anybody from Plaza Colina, for example, unless they drive down to it, they're going to cross 50 to get to it.
Okay.
But you'll have some people from Plaza Colina across the street coming to it. If somebody likes to have an ice cream, they're going to come in the afternoon. Typically, it's families in the afternoon driving to Twisty, you know, treat in the afternoon. That's really where they have most of their people. So what we're asking you today is really an entitlement question. Site planning is, we are, you know, complying with your code with site planning. We're going to meet landscaping, open space, you know, access, and we have to submit traffic. We have to go back to DOT. All this has to be done.
Thank you,
You
sir.
know, as we go through. So
If you don't mind, I think we are,
Okay.
we've had enough
Thank you.
information. Thank you. I would like to make a motion to either, to accept this, make a motion to.
It's your motion.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for item number 11 to approve. I'm sorry, did I do that right?
Second.
Any stipulations in that for his
For the site plan.
aesthetics?
Yeah, aesthetics, yes.
Okay,
To
okay.
come back with the aesthetics after, if we approve it, yes.
Okay. All right. And the second still staying? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve item
Number 11.
ordinance number 2025-003 with this, with the understanding that for architectural and aesthetics, it has to come back through the council for approval prior to.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Any further discussion?
No, sir.
All righty. Councilmember Strange.
Nay.
Councilmember Myers.
Yay.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yay.
And the chair vote a yea as well. Motion passes 3-1. Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Item number 12 is for variance request.
little bit of deja vu. This is, sorry, Kurt Hensel, Planning and Development Services Director. This variance request is literally right next door. We did not plan this. It just happened to be two separate applicants.
This is one we tabled from last.
That's
last
right.
time, right?
It
Okay.
just happens to be right next door to what you just voted on there.
Mm-hmm.
The applicant, EnviroStruct LLC, is requesting a sign variance on an existing building located at 17410 State Road 50, which, again, to the north is Costco, Highway 50, just to the north of the site. The applicant is requesting to allow for more than 200 square feet of wall signage located on the second floor of the building facade, the facade wall to be greater than the total allowable copy area. The Land Development Code allows one primary wall sign parallel to the road or street, not exceeding the maximum 200 square foot of copy area. A secondary wall sign may be permitted on up to 2 walls, provided it is a maximum of 50% of the primary wall sign. The applicant is asking for the second wall sign to exceed the 50% allowable copy area. I'll get into the details in just a moment. The applicant currently has a primary wall sign installed on the second floor of the building, which is approximately 100 square feet. This is the sign we're referring to right here.
Mm-hmm.
Without a variance, the applicant's second wall sign could only be permitted at 50 square feet. If approved, the 2 wall signs of similar size would be allowed on the second floor building facade. No other signage would be permitted on the second floor. So, again, they are looking for a little darker image, but they're looking to put this second wall sign at 100 square feet as well. Typically, this would be limited at 50 square feet. Down below, let me go back to this one here. Down below, the way our code is written, each unit that has its own entrance or door, they can have several wall signs down here. It's the upper floor that we're really referring to right now. Section 101-246 of the Land Development Code requires a positive finding in the review criteria and findings in order to grant a variance. Staff has reviewed the application as presented and finds the application does not meet a positive finding on 2 of the 5 review criteria. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the variance request.
Okay.
That's staff's report.
Is the applicant present? Please.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
I'm Sean McTighe, and I represent Steel Holdings, who owns the second story of this building. There's a little bit of an underlying story that I'm asking you guys to take into consideration when making a decision.
Can I get an address on you, please, sir?
I'm sorry, the address is 17410 East Highway 50.
Thank you.
This building is condoed. There's 2 owners. We own the entire second floor. There's a private owner for the downstairs. At that time that this building was built and managed, it was controlled by one owner, who is now the owner of the second floor, and we decided to go to a property management company to manage it because of the conflicts between the 2 parties. The sign that you currently see is for one of my tenants who's under a 5-year lease. He went through the right channels, reached out to the property manager, submitted it, it went to the board, they approved it, and they put the sign up. If you look at the center of that building where the large windows are in the front, all the way to the right where we just showed the EnviroStruct sign, that is the entire space that's occupied by myself, the company EnviroStruct, and the name of the building is the EnviroStruct Business Center. We then went to put our sign up and submitted for permit, and that's when we were made aware of this issue. The issue came up that I'm asking for the variance because I'm asking to put the sign up that is the actual name of the business center. It's the name of the sign is EnviroStruct. And now, if it's not allowed, I would then have to turn to a tenant and say, it's our building, we're putting our sign up, which now means you have to take yours down at your cost, based on the fact that a property management company allowed this to go in. We think that it would offset and balance the top floor, and I can assure you I have another tenant that has already been told that there will be no future signage on the second floor if this is allowed to go through. We're asking for your consideration in this, for us to be able to, as the owners, list our company, which is also the name of the business, on the building.
That it?
please.
Okay. Thank you, sir. If we have any question, we will call you back in.
I appreciate you
But
guys.
let me open it up to the public. This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wish to address this item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Oh, he shows up.
Hello, my name is Patrick Bianchi, 752 West Montrose. It sounds like to me, based on the presentation, that the city is kind of playing mediator here between infighting or what have you. As a real estate broker myself, I can tell you that most of these buildings, Orlando, Clermont, even the one behind it, has one sign for the building name. That sometimes is leased at an expense. It's expensive to have signage rights. Others will do directories, monument signs, and so on. I fear that if you allow for this, that every single tenant, whether it's this building or other buildings, are going to want to display their sign. Why not me? So I think while it sounds like the city is being put in a position to play mediator because of an unfortunate event, it sounds like as time passes, they'll be able to reclaim their rights and install the sign that they so choose. Again, Engel and Volker's building right behind this building, big sign, single user, owner of the building, makes sense. Imagine if everybody inside wanted their own sign. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the public wish to address this item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I close public comment. Bring it back to council. Let's say, yes, sir, Mr. Waugh.
Mayor, I just have a question of Mr. Henschel. It says in the staff report that it does not meet a positive finding on 2 of the 5 review criteria. Do you know offhand which criteria those are? I just think that's important for the record.
The first one, number 1, granting of the variance will not cause or allow the interference with the reasonable enjoyment of adjacent or nearby property owners of negatively impact the standard of living. I'm sorry.
Or
Living for the
negatively impact
citizens
the
of the
standard
city.
of living of
Yeah.
the citizens of the city.
Right.
Okay. And the other one?
Is this number 2, which is the variance will allow reasonable use of the property, which use is not out of character with other properties in the same zoning category.
Thank you.
Number 2, you say will allow reasonable use, which is not out of character with other property?
The variance will allow a reasonable use of the property, which use is not out of character with other properties in the same zoning category.
Will that be found negative?
Correct.
Yep. Okay, what's the council, being here again, I think it's one of the, as Ms. Strange was speaking earlier, this is one of them things where I think our ordinance, our codes need to be updated, okay? And of course, I've been saying this for quite some time. We're trying to get around to updating some of our codes. Some of these things was written so long ago. Me as I'm sitting here thinking myself, put myself in that position. If I own the building there, I would love to have my sign up here. I don't care about a single use or whatever. Hey, if I'm in the building, I want a sign out front so people know where I am when they pass down the road as well. Now, I know it was a negative, to me, it was a negative finding by the city, and I try to support our city staff and everything, but this, to me, is one of the areas where I think our code is outdated, and I'm willing to kind of look somewhere else. And I heard that he did say something to me, say something that I caught, is the fact that he's already talked to other tenants in there and let them know there'll be nobody else putting any signs up there. So if he can guarantee me that, I'm okay with it, okay? So.
I'm going to have a question for the applicant. Go ahead. You.
No, I mean, I'm in agreement with Mr. Bianchi had said, because if we open up the door, I mean, you could say, well, that nobody else is going to do it, but then if you open up the door, then everybody in there is going to want to have the sign up. I think that maybe you could have that other sign removed and put the name of the building in, and that would be.
But the other sign, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That sign was installed and a lease was.
No, I understand that, sure.
A lease was extended based on the fact that he's advertising, and you can control whether signs go up in the future because they all have to be permitted through the city of Clermont. Right.
Yeah, it all have to be permitted, and I don't think a council meeting go by just about without us having to deal with some kind of sign variance and everything. This is constant.
The whole reason this was caught was because I went through the process of permitting my sign.
Right. So, and I think that's where our sign ordinance, which, one of the big things I would like to see is updated our sign ordinance. And mainly one of the things in there I want to see changed is the fact that we allow, digital signs and everything. So, it just seems strange to me, and one of the things I like about this is also it'll kind of like make the building look more symmetric, okay, as well. By you got the one sign on the one side, but you have nothing on this side, so we kind of like square it off, or make it more symmetric anyway. So,
Mrs. Strange, I believe you had a question for me.
I do. Is there a monument sign out by the street?
There is.
Okay. And how many more years is left on the lease for the tenant who has the sign on the top floor?
We just re-upped for 5 years. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it depends on what you're talking about because I own the rest of the building upstairs.
The sign,
reoccupy.
the 3-row sign that's up there.
That is, he just re-upped for a 5-year lease.
And did the CAM apply for that sign, or did the property owner have to sign off on it?
The property management company has a board that reviews it and signs off on it.
No, somebody had to apply for a permit to the city to put up that sign.
Yeah, that's where the other portion of this problem comes in. It was not permitted. And part of the stipulation with this is that if this variance is able to go through, that will be submitted and permitted and inspected. But we didn't go through that process because once this came to light, it was decided that if the variance is not approved, that sign's coming down and mine will get permitted and go up, so there's no need to permit.
So that sign went up without a permit?
Went out without a permit. They paid for a permit. They have documents that their contractor charged them for a permit, submitted drawings, but he never actually pulled the permit. Who did the install on that?
And the tenant is the one who hired the contractor?
Yes, ma'am.
My feelings on this are not only the justice of the law, but also the aesthetics of the building. And I do think, when I look at this, it makes sense to me that there is a name of a building, that this is the EnviroStruct building. I completely empathize with you in your situation, but that the bottom floor is where the business signs would be, and then the monument sign out by the street, and the director signs inside. I don't like the idea of buildings having signs over every window, personally, as I sit up here, and you're asking for a variance. I'm gonna say no tonight, because I think you should have your sign on the top of the center, not over on the side, but on the top center. And you know, if it was not permitted and the contractor didn't do their job, then I think the damages is probably between your tenant and his or her contractor.
I don't disagree with you as far as who's responsible for it. I'm just here to address the situation we're in.
I understand, and I am empathetic to it. If they had a shorter lease, I might be willing to say, hey, I'd be willing to extend it for a period of time, but 5 years, I think that possibly none of us are up here in 5 years, possibly you're gone in 5 years, and I do fear that the next council would look and say, well, we need to do this. So I'm just telling you tonight, my vote's gonna be a no.
All right, I'd like to call for a vote for item number 12, the variance request for the PUD, the EnviroStruct LLC.
There needs to be a motion.
Made
one
a
way or the
motion.
I made a motion.
To do what?
In favor or opposed?
Opposed. I make a motion opposing the variance for EnviroStruct LLC.
Okay.
I second.
Have a motion and a second for denial of item number 12, which is a variance request. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. And the chair opposed as well. So motion, I guess, passes 2 to 2.
It fails.
It fails,
actually.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it fails
Yes, sir.
2 to 2.
Motion to approve item number 12, variance request for EnviroStruct LLC. Motion to approve.
I second it.
Have a motion. Have a motion and a second to approve item number 12, variance request. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
And the chair vote aye as well, so it fails again, 2-0. Okay? Now, I think that last vote was illegal, but because it failed the first time, basically, it's been disapproved. Okay. But a 2 to 2
I
vote.
think it was legal, Mayor, but, you know, the situation now is that unless there's some kind of other creative motion to deal with this, it'll die for lack of a motion.
Yes. Yeah. So it pretty much dies, as you say, lack of motion, it pretty much fails, lack of motion. He's eligible to resubmit at another time, but basically, at this point,
I'm so confused right now as to what's going on.
The variance hasn't been adopted, or there are not enough votes either to approve or deny, so it dies for the lack of an approval, essentially.
And at the beginning of the meeting, one of the questions I asked is, did everybody want to continue to meet the council tonight because we were missing one council member?
Okay.
And because of that, I did that because of the fact that if it ended up being a 2-2 tie, that basically means the motion pass or fail or whatever, however the motion, but 2 to 2 means it's failed. So with the missing council member, there's some way to break that. Okay, and that's why I asked that question in the beginning, did everybody really still want to meet the council tonight, missing the council, and I was told yes, so basically what's happening.
Who would have asked us that? 'Cause I wasn't asked that.
They would have had, when they found out a council member wasn't gonna be here, they should have went, staff should have went back to council, staff, each one, so. Okay,
The only thing I'm saying is, had I known that if there was 4 members and a 2 to 2 tie breaks it, I would have waited for 5 members.
Well, there was no way to know it would have been a 2-2.
no, you didn't know whether it was
I
gonna be
understand
2
that,
or
but I
2.
would have known that there was an opportunity for a 2-2, which
Right.
would have been a failure.
It's been clear.
How so? Nobody spoke to me about it until just now.
Councilman Howard's not here and hasn't been here since the beginning.
I understand that, but how do I know that a 2-2 tie is a no? Is my
That's a
question.
matter of public record.
You expect people that come up here to do a variance? I'm asking a question.
No.
Sir?
Come up for a variance to know that?
Sir, right there, basically, motion, either way did not carry, it's a failed motion both ways, and everything. You have the right to resubmit, come back at another day and resubmit, you can take the actions that you said you were gonna take earlier, which is have the other tenant remove his sign and you place yours up there. Of course, that still need approval too, right, Kerry?
Appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. Item number 13 for consideration, resolution number 2025-005R.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Clermont, Lake County, Florida, granting a conditional use permit to allow for a commercial building occupying more than 3,000 square feet of floor area in the Central Business District, providing for conflict, severability, administrative correction of scrivener's error, publication, and an effective date.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and guests. John Cruz, Development Services. This is agenda item 13. The applicant, MEI Partners, is requesting additional use permit to allow the construction of almost a 7,000 square foot retail office and restaurant building in the Central Business District. The proposed building will replace an existing duplex at 935 West Mineola Avenue and will be a single-story building. And outlined in yellow on the display is the site. Here's the existing duplex. Here's Mineola Avenue. Here's West Avenue. And for reference, here's the post office. Chuck, if you can zoom out for me. In addition to the new building, the project will also have a small outdoor patio area. And again, this is looking from Mineola Avenue towards the project. This is the patio area. This is the building. And then over here is West Avenue. The Land Development Code, Section 125-370, requires a conditional use permit for any structure occupying more than 3,000 square feet of floor space, which that was just recently changed to 6,000, but this building is over 6,000, so it would still come before you. The total property area is about a half an acre. The land use designation is downtown mixed use. In order to accommodate the necessary parking, the applicant would like to construct 6 parking spaces within the right-of-way on Mineola Avenue adjacent to the project. And here's Mineola Avenue. Here's the 5 spaces plus 1. Here's the almost 7,000 square foot building. They also will have parking on site as well. This would be similar to the parking spaces constructed north of the property that was part of the Victory Village project. Staff does not have any objection to this improvement, and this will need to be coordinated with city staff at the time of site review. Staff has reviewed the application and finds the proposed use will not be detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the vicinity, and the use will be in compliance with the regulations and conditions specified. The building size and property size is very similar to the property northeast of the site, which was formerly known as the Market. The surrounding area consists of commercial uses, and the central business district zoning is supported of the proposed uses. Staff recommends approval of resolution number 2025-005R. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 7-0. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Good afternoon, Kevin Abair with MEI Partners, 1035 South Cimarron Boulevard, Suite 1029, Winter Park, 32792. Engineer of record, and here to answer any questions. I think John did a great job kind of teeing it up and whatnot. I can tell you that it's a great opportunity for what you folks are building, certainly east, northeast of this, working westerly to the improvements made to the waterfront and whatnot in that area. And like I said, it complements that which was constructed recently right across the street. So
Yes.
not asking for anything above that square footage. It's a self-sustaining site, meaning parking's on site. We're not asking for any off-site variance or anything like that. It's somewhat traditional in that fashion. And buildings pushed to the front. Hopefully you find it pedestrian and walkability friendly, whatnot, certainly with the opportunity that exists just to the west. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right, sir. If we have any question, we will call you back up at a later time. But right now, this is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wish to address this item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes.
Patrick Bianchi, 752 West Montrose Street. I'm also the president of Clermont Main Street. This happens to be on our CRA boundary. I love to see the economic development here. I think, you know, with the traditional aspect of it is okay. I think that maybe the applicant perhaps doesn't know the trajectory of where I think ultimately Main Street and the city council wants to go with respect to parking fund, expanding the square footage, maybe maximizing his revenue opportunity to expand the building. But if the design is, you know, amendable to the applicant, I think this is fantastic for our downtown. I love the fact that they added some parking in the right-of-way. I think that is going to serve the community well. I think more parking in the right-of-way is needed for sure, as we do have continual issues with that. But this is fantastic. Definitely like to see it better than what it is now, and possibly even doing away with this parking lot, putting it somewhere else and making the building bigger because of that walkability and downtown factor. But love it for what it is, and we encourage any economic development. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wish to address this item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I close public comment, bring it back to council. Let's say council.
I say approve it.
Make a motion, if that's what you want.
Do we have any more discussions before I do that? But just, yeah. I make a motion to approve item number 13, resolution number 2025-005R.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval of resolution number 2025-005R. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Okay, hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The chair votes aye as well. Motion passes 4-0. Good luck, sir. Item number 14 was tabled, so item number 15, resolution number 2025-008R.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Clermont, Lake County, Florida, granting a conditional use permit to allow for a new and used boat dealership and boat repair in the C2 General Commercial Zoning District providing for conflict, severability, administrative correction of scrivener's error, publication, and an effective date.
Mayor, real quickly, just for clarification, John did look up, we absolutely did send emails to the applicants stating very specifically about a 2-2 vote would be a vote for denial.
Okay.
Just for clarification.
Okay. Well, as long as, I mean, I know I asked the question in the beginning.
I know,
Was
I
it
told
done?
you, and we did, absolutely. I saw the email myself there.
Okay.
The applicant, Regal Natique of Orlando, would like to open a new and used boat dealership within an existing building at 102 South Highway 27. What you see before you, just for reference, this is the actual Citrus Tower on the east side of Highway 27. So across 27, this is the location, which is 102 South US 27. Just a little closer up view of it. The property and the building were previously used for an animal feed store, formerly known as Irish Trails Pet Supply. The existing building was constructed in 2002 and is approximately 15,000 square feet. The building has a loading dock and large warehouse doors on both sides of the building. These doors would allow larger deliveries like boat motors and other large equipment, as well as access points to display boats internally inside the building. In addition, the applicant would like to have an outdoor display area of new and used boats within the existing parking lot. The property is zoned C2 General Commercial with a commercial future land use. The property faces US 27, which is an arterial roadway, and is buffered by Bloxham Avenue in the rear by the site's stormwater pond. Under Section 125-337 of the Land Development Code, a conditional use permit is required for this type of use. So, let's see. Excuse me. The applicant will be fencing off a portion of the existing parking lot for the new and used boat display, which is this yellow highlighted area over here. This area will be on the north side of the property and will eliminate 18 parking spaces. Based upon the current parking code, with a building this size for retail use is required to have 45 parking spaces. With the removal of the parking spaces within the boat display area, there will be 47 parking spaces. A condition of approval for this display area is that ornamental fencing shall be used around the outside boat area. It will look similar to the fencing used in the business to the south, which is the rental depot. So this is in your packet as well. This just represents the area of the fenced-in area for the new and used boats here. And ornamental metal fencing is what we've required in the conditional use permit. Staff has reviewed the application and the proposed project regarding the Section 101-212 review criteria for a conditional use permit. The proposed use will not be detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. The use of the site is not out of character with the existing neighbors or adjacent properties. The conditional use permit will not be in conflict with the Clermont Comprehensive Plan, goals, objectives, and policies for the current land use designation. Staff does recommend approval of Resolution 2025-008R. I will note that the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval 7-0 with the addition of condition for hours. They requested Monday through Friday 8 to 5, Saturday 8 to 4, and closed on Sundays. That's staff's report.
Was that, you say P and Z, was it?
Planning and Zoning recommends 7-0, but they included they recommended the hours of operation.
Is those hours they recommended in, same as the applicant's hours that he established?
Yeah, the applicant did agree to those hours.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and closed on Sundays, open holidays though still, right? I didn't say anything about holidays.
We didn't specifically get into that.
Okay. No, I was just curious, they recommended hours and everything, and if the applicant was in agreement with them and everything, so that's good.
What was the rationale for recommending hours?
I was thinking the same thing. Took the words out my mouth.
For us, it's harder to manage that with code enforcement. A lot of times businesses will open and it's not a problem for us, but then we have to send out code enforcement for action. We as staff don't really like those hours of operation requirements. or
Was it saying,
restrictions.
was the requirement that they be open those hours, or is a restriction that they can only be open those
Restriction to
hours?
those hours. Restriction to just those hours.
Just to
of
those
operation.
hours.
Well,
We can
you
do
see,
that.
I'm trying to put restriction in facilities somewhere like this here because they scared of the traffic because you got, residential right across the street and everything, so.
That was part, I'm sure, part of the
That's the main
rationale,
reason, because
yes.
of the residents across the street, and that's
But-
usually, they try to have some respect for the residents.
With the operation of the prior business of a feed store, we never had a problem with them. They were open.
I just thought the
More than that.
hours they recommended and they, is a little limited, I thought. you know.
Well,
I
there's
do not
several members
disagree
of
with
P
you.
and Z here, so if we could leave room for the P and Z folks to come
Yes,
advise us on
Sure.
what their thoughts are, I'd appreciate it.
But anyway, is the applicant present?
KR.
Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's Jeffrey Huseby. I live in Winter Park, Florida. I've been in Central Florida for 33 years in the boating industry. I own and operate 8 dealerships in 4 states, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, and Tennessee. Orlando is my home. It's our home base. Our dealership in Orlando was ranked by the boating industry as a #1 dealership 2 consecutive years in a row. The last 2 years, and a month ago, we were inducted into the Hall of Fame, Boating Industry Hall of Fame, which there's only 6 dealerships in the whole country. Well, actually, North America. We deal with very high-end premium products. We don't carry junk. We don't have lot rot, what they call lot rot boats sitting around. We run a very high-end professional business. In October of last year, I bought 7 water sports, which was in Groveland. And they have 4 Lake County-based employees, and I'm currently training them in Orlando. We've been looking for a location in Clermont. We feel like we have to have a satellite location in Clermont, so that's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you, sir. If we have any question, we will call you back at another time, but right now, it is a public proceeding. Anyone in the public which wish to address the item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes.
Hello, Brian Bain, Chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, to answer the questions relative to the hours of operation. That was a question that the commissioners asked of the applicant, what would be the hours of operation, and they were provided that it was Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, Saturday, 8 to 4, closed on Sundays. And the questions also ensued relative to would there be some amenability from the applicant to put that into the conditional use permit because of the servicing that can take place and the residential component that is across the street from Bloxham. There are townhouses and villas in that area, and we have had discussions at Planning and Zoning in the past in neighborhoods where there are potential for services and the other one was automotive. This one is obviously motorcraft and boats, to make sure that we were cognizant of the fact of the residential neighbors and what hours of operations would have been allowed for servicing of those vehicles to make sure that we were not creating a noise potential issue for those neighborhoods. And we asked the applicant if he would be amenable to that, and he said absolutely.
So are those hours only related to the service, not the resale, or is it the whole?
We asked what their total hours of operation would be, and feel free to get clarification, but the only thing that was provided to us was that the complete hours of operation would be the Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, Saturday, 8 to 4, closed on Sunday. So we asked if it was okay to, if they were amenable for that to be in the CUP so that we could provide that kind of outline of when neighbors might be able to expect servicing, and they were amenable to that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Once again, good afternoon. Vincent Nemick, Regency Hills. I'm here to speak on myself and on myself only. I like this project, I do, especially where you see the boats, the display of boats. All right, that's important because the last city council that approved the rental of depot, they also told the owner of that establishment to pretty much not put their and display their vehicles in front of Route 27. Every day I go to the bank, every day I see those high-lows extended as high as possible being displayed. Okay? Matter of fact, it was late Commissioner Purvis that requested for those vehicles or those rentals not to be extended. Last I saw, there was a cherry picker 25 feet in the air. Okay? Now, if you go by there, I mean, I believe if you listen to the audio says that they weren't going to put nothing larger than a car, which, if you ask me, it's only 5 or 6 feet, not 20 feet in the air. And when they get their bulldozers or their little tractors, they put their shovel up high. So really, I think this is a really good project if he keeps the boats over there. And he said he would, and it's away from 27 there. It won't be a distraction. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello again, Michael Kramer, 208 Nautical Mile. As a former boat owner, since I lost mine in that last storm, I live on Lake Mineola, and I will tell you, when you need a part on a Saturday, driving all the way through Clermont through that traffic, you're not boating very long. So the idea that we can have a world-class boat center, these guys are great. They're one of the best in the country. They're not the Lexus. This is like the Ferrari of boats. These guys are good. And they're going to be right near the lake. And I'm going to tell you, if you're on the lake and we have that boat ramp, they're going to be within a mile of the boat ramp. When you're broke down and you need a part, there's nothing in there. There's about a dozen boat retailers within about 10 or 15 miles of here, but nobody on the water and nobody able to help boaters out. So I big time in favor of this because I can't wait to get another boat and maybe see these folks.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone else? This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wish to address this item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 5 minutes. Seeing no one else, I close public comment. Let me just say this, and I agree with you, sir. It's going to be great having, it would be great to have another a location so close to our water within 5 minutes, and I guess that's one of the reasons them hours caught my attention to be closed down at 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon when a lake is 5 minutes away, and you have to pull your boat out, and if you're renting a boat or whatever, pull it out and bring it back at such early hours in the afternoon, especially around here during this time of the year when it doesn't get dark about 8 o'clock. So I have no problem with the project myself.
Yeah, I'm just puzzled why you would want to close early when people need service on their boats. Is that one of the conditions for the permit or what?
I was simply mimicking the Orlando hours, which I've had for 30-some years.
Okay.
We find that most boaters are going to be out on a weekend. They're a Saturday afternoon. They're going to be boating, and they won't, possibly call. Let me back up on the service part. This project is more sales oriented.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I have a brand new $8 million building that we built in Orlando, just finished a year ago, that is world-class service. So it's easy for me to pick a boat up, take it to that facility from Clermont and take it back and forth. This is merely more of a sales oriented. And also our customers, many of them don't buy a trailer. So we do dockside service, so we go to their house. So the noise factor and that kind of thing is very, very, very minimal. I mean, what we're going to be doing there is, oil changes and batteries and just very simple kind of things to get people back on the lake.
So you're saying it's primarily sales, and that existing building will have like boats in there also to be on display?
Yeah, they have a huge showroom in there, which is very appealing.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's probably 8,000 square feet in the showroom part.
Right, it's going to be Regal and Ski Nautique boats?
Yeah, we carry Regal, which is a hometown brand built in Orlando near the airport, and Nautique, which is also from Pine Castle since 1925. Bennington Pontoons, which is the premier pontoon company. Also Centurion Supreme, which is the company that I bought here in Groveland.
Okay, thank you.
Well, let me add this, I do appreciate you being considerate of the residents there. They're trying to keep the noise down, so, but again, it just puzzled me with them hours.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised. Thank you for being here. I'm happy to see businesses with the experience of yours wanting to come to Clermont, so thank you for that.
All right, thank you. All right, I'd like to make a motion for item number 15, resolution number 2025-00R, to approve.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for approval of resolution number 2025-008R.
Mayor, may I just get clarification if you are including hours or not? Because right now, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
You need to put the hours in it.
Including
Mr.
the hours that
Peterson.
are, that we
Okay,
stated.
just for clarity, just want to make sure.
For approval as presented with the hours, let me just add this before I call for the vote. If they decide they want to change the hours, they can always come back to the council and ask for a change in hours, okay? That's standard, so, yeah, with the hours. So is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And chair vote aye as well. Motion passes 4. Good luck, sir, and thank you, and I'm glad to see something happen with that building.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Item number 16, ordinance number 2025-010, introduction of a vacant right-of-way.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Clermont, Lake County, Florida, closing and permanently abandoning Omar Street, according to the plat of Walton subdivision recorded in Plat Book 8, page 5, Public Records of Lake County, Florida, and more particularly described as below. Providing for conflict, severability, administrative correction of scrivener's error, recording, publication, and an effective date.
Okay. I entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 16, ordinance number 2025-1010.
I second.
I have a motion and a second for approval and introduction of ordinance number 2025-010. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, chair vote aye as well. Motion passes for the introduction. However, I did note that Chief Broadway came in, so for those who managed to stick around, I'm gonna have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. I guess everyone is aware that I pursued a goal or an ambition of mine to eventually be a chief of police of a larger agency. And this city, this agency, this community, this council has prepared me for that new challenge and that new endeavor. So again, I just want to say thank you, express my sincere gratitude. Thank you to this current council and all prior councils, current city manager, prior city managers for entrusting me to lead the city as your chief of police, a role, a position that I do not take lightly, and I'm honored and blessed and humbled to be able to serve in that capacity for the past 13 years. To the community, thank you. Your support, your love for the men and women of the Clermont Police Department is just unprecedented. One of the things that I always say that I love about this city and this community is that we routinely get together, come together, collaborate to do good on the behalf of others and for the betterment of others. And I was just thinking when I remember being sworn in as the chief of police, December 11, 2012, and at the time our city manager was a council member. And I remember something that he had said as the council members were giving me congratulatory remarks and encouraging remarks. And he said that make sure that you have an ear to the community. Make sure that you listen to the voice, listen to what they're saying. So to the community, I hope that I lived up to that and I listened and I heard you. And I also was a voice and advocate for you as well to continue to prevent crime, reduce crime, and enhance quality of life for all of you. So thank you again, and God bless all of you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief Broadway, I guess you wasn't here earlier, and I think council members up here play you some accolades, including myself. As if you want to hear those, you can always go back and listen to the recorder. But again, I would say to this, you face to face again. I appreciate all the work that we've had the opportunity to do together and everything. As I said earlier, I remember when you I first introduced to you 2 weeks after you got here in McKinney Park, and at an event that you've been supporting events throughout the city, for me anyway, and a lot of other people throughout all those careers. But I was here to say to each one of the council members, or anyone else, including the public, you want to come and say some remarks with the chief, I'll give you that opportunity. Okay.
Chief, yes.
Okay.
Chief, we thank you so much for your hard work, your dedication. And I told you this before, but I'm telling you again, you made me be able to sleep at night before I even got up here. And your leadership is impeccable. They are getting a wonderful person. I know that you're going to make their police department even better. You know that we miss you, but as I told you before, I do not believe in hamstringing people, so you should go on. You will succeed. And I mean that about keeping an eye on you, though, to check on you from time to time. But, you know, we love and appreciate you.
Yeah, just the short time that I've known you, I found you a remarkable person. I think maybe because you were from New York also, I had a certain relationship with you. But I think you kept us all informed about what was going on, and you were quick to respond to any questions we might have had. I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
When I was just a citizen, I had your number, I could call, you answered, you certainly I had your ear, I felt like you had mine, so I appreciate that, and sad to see you go, but I do wish you well.
Thank you.
I'll just add, when I was on the council, I remember talking to the city manager about who was going to take that spot, and we talked about you, and I gave the city manager my full-hearted support, and you didn't let me down. You did an amazing job, so thank you for everything from the bottom of my heart for all the citizens here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Chief. Please.
Otis Taylor, 3686 Caladesi. I just wanted to say that I don't see Chief as a police officer, which is strange. And he's been probably one of the best. I mean, when it comes to police officers, he don't show himself to the public like that. We work with a lot of youth. And these boys look up to him like a big brother. They respect him. But even when he see him in the street or we see each other, it's always hugs and fist bumps and everything else. We're losing something, but I understand he has to do what he has to do. But man, this is going to be a loss to our community. And hopefully we got someone that's going to come up and fill those big shoes that he's leaving behind. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief, Otis. And as I said earlier, I remember when Grace, Deputy Chief, came on board as an officer, and we worked around out there on the streets with the drug scenes and all that. And I know you took him under the wing and trained him real well. So I think we do have I have confidence in him that he'll be able to step in. And he has big shoes to fill, but I think he has confidence in the training that you've given him, prepared him for the role as well for right now. Anyway, so thank you. Anyone else?
Larry Roberts, 8013 Sergeant Pepper Drive. Chief, you brought a tremendous amount of integrity to this department for the law enforcement for here. You're a personal friend of mine. I also had your number, and you picked up the phone when I called you. But the thing I like the most about you, Chief, is there are some people that are police chief and they're Christians, but you're a Christian that happens to be a police chief. I thank you for your service.
Thank you. No one else? Chief, I would say we would probably have a ceremony. I don't know what's going to happen, but normally, with another council meeting, since we do not have another council, between now and the 1st of April. I'm quite sure somebody will, Miss Debbie or somebody will put something together so we can give you a proper farewell somewhere along the way, okay? Well, we appreciate it. Again, I appreciate everything you do. I think I told you before, you go into another city that's quite fun to me. I used to live in Kissimmee. Very fun to wear. My brother retired from that police department down there as well, so.
I grew up in Kissimmee.
Huh?
I grew up in Kissimmee too.
Yeah, well, I didn't live, I only lived there for about 8 months or so, but like I said, my brother was a police officer down there at the time. I used to ride with him quite a bit down there, and of course, the current mayor and everything I've been knowing for a while, so, yeah.
Moved off Thacker Avenue.
I think
House
you'll
burnt
do
down.
well.
It's not there anymore. You can't see it.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, if there's nothing else that need to come before the council, our meeting adjourned. We got it, 'cause we got.